New eras for two of the AFL's youngest sides kick off this afternoon as Collingwood hosts Hawthorn in a pre-season fixture at Morwell Recreation Reserves. New coaches for both sides get their chance to lead their teams into battle, albeit in an unofficial capacity this afternoon. Craig McRae in his first season in charge of Collingwood, and the fabled son Sam Mitchell in charge of Hawthorn. New faces are plenty for both of these teams too this afternoon, so plenty to look forward to. A slight breeze, as you can see from the flags in the background at Morwell this afternoon. Great to have footy back in Gippsland in regional Victoria as part of this practice match series for season 2022. Joel Peterson with you on KO Sports. Great to have your company this afternoon. And we'll have Steve Gillam very shortly to join us, the former Hawthorn Premiership player, former Port Adelaide and Giants player as well. Some of the new faces for Collingwood, of course, we know that their number one draft choice last year, Nick Dacos, was so highly touted, and he'll be out there this afternoon strutting his stuff in the number 35, famous number for the Pies. Murley, Kruger, Draper, Johnson, Begg and Patrick Lipinski among the new faces. Lipinski on screen, standing next to Jack Crisp in that midfield mix. And then, of course, for the Hawks, among their new faces this afternoon, Josh Ward, Ned Long, Jai Sarong, Connor McDonald, Sam Butler, Max Lynch, the former Pie, Jack Gunston and James Sicily back after a long layoff with injury. Terrific to see him back in the fold. For the Hawks this afternoon, the number 6. Brodie Grundy and Ned Reeves to do battle in ruck. About set to go to kick off the season for Collingwood and for Hawthorn here at Morwell. Umpire lays it down in the middle and we're underway. It's Grundy who gets first hands to it. Reeves gets it away for the Hawks though to Newcomb. Tumbles it to half forward. There's a nice pick up there for Hawthorn by Brockman, and his handball forward has returned a free kick, and straight into the action here for the Hawks is Dylan Moore, who had such a great finish to last season. Steve Gillam, as I welcome you to the broadcast, he gets an early opportunity.
He does. Thanks, Joel. Yeah, great to be here. Great to see footy returning down in Morwell against these sides. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, both got new coaches as Morey plays on, opens up the angle and kicks truly. So Hawthorn on the board through Dylan Moore. But he's been in really good form. They've had a couple of internal trials, the Hawks, the last couple of weeks, and he's working really hard in that forward line, getting to the feet of the big boys up forward and making the most of his opportunities the last couple of years.
Someone with a strong Hawks connection, who are you looking forward to seeing this afternoon?
Well, it's great that they're playing six, like I guess you'd call it, or 6 quarters.
6 periods.
6 periods. So everyone's going to get their opportunity. I'm really looking forward to some of the young guys. You can see John Newcomb in at the centre bounce there. Obviously, was a mid-season pickup last year, and some of our newly draftees from this year.
Great to see so many young guns for both sides. Crisp for Collingwood. He wrenches it free out of the middle. Long kick inside the 50 and Scrimshaw's able to pick it off. Former son had a terrific season for the Hawks last season after so many injury battles early in his career. Sends it wide and Moore's involved early again. And of course we get to see Nick Dacos for the Pies this afternoon, the highly talented junior who's already, I guess, comes with so much expectation.
He does. He's already got a little bit of pressure, but I think from what I hear, really enjoy that pressure and eat it up.
Here's Elliott for the Pies from the pocket. That's a great finish from Jamie Elliott. On the run, left forward pocket at the freeway end, curls it home on the left boot.
Great finish, wasn't it? And that's what he can do. He doesn't really need much time and space to create something, and sort of almost made something out of nothing there from the turnover. Hawthorn will be a little bit disappointed with that. Morey had the ball in hand and made the turnover, and Collingwood made them play. But, really looking forward to sort of the team styles as well under the new coaches. I know that Sam is probably going to be a little bit more attacking and instinctive with the ball in hand. And then from a Collingwood point of view, we'll see, what Craig McRae wants, what sort of style he wants to play.
Speaking on SEN this morning, you said that they're going to move the ball forward more and they'll play a more contested style. so often was the case, and you heard it in the frustration at Collingwood games. They got frustrated with the way Nathan Buckley's teams chipped the ball around and moved it backwards and were slow to build it up.
Yeah, and I guess that was sort of what he learned under Mick Malthouse to a degree as well. Those Mick Malthouse coach sides like to move them more like that. So, yeah, looking forward to an open and flowing contest that will be good to watch. But I think, you know, as a player, you like playing under that sort of coach and playing that style.
So Scrimshaw's again involved here for the Hawks. And here's Sicily with his first touch coming off the ACL layoff. Terrific to have the uber-talented Hawthorn product. And here's another one in Warple who rises and he's able to pull in the mark. Kick into the centre of the ground, not great. Picked up by Hartigan at half-back. Scrimshaw now for the Hawks. Flicks the handball on. Bramble, who was a great pickup for Hawthorn last year. Scrubs the kick across the corridor. Makes Sicily work, but we know that he's good enough to pick it up and launch it inside the 50. Grundy comes over the top with a telling fist. Free kick paid in the marking contest, and it's going to go the way of the Pies.
You scrubby kicks. I see in the background the wind looks like it's really up. So, just as I mentioned that, yeah. Tyler Brockman chops it off. Just the kicking. It looks like the players are having a little bit of trouble with that wind, whether it's straight down the ground or across the ground. There's just a lot of turnovers early in the game. What tends to happen in these early games of the year is you want to move the ball really quick. Everyone wants to touch the footy and. They're just settling into the game at the moment. So
Brockman with the set shot from 45 metres out, just pushes it right to left, and the first minor score of the game. 11 games last season for Tyler Brockman. The West Australian was a very handy pickup. He was, yeah. He's really dangerous and elusive in that forward line. So, having another pre-season under his belt, hopefully just is able to be more consistent. Here's something interesting. Scott Pendlebury at fullback kicking in. We know he's maybe set for a more defensive role this year, but not the position we've become accustomed to seeing the champ. Not a bad bloke to have the ball in his hands for the kick-outs for the Pies. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to watch and see how that plays out. Gippsland product playing in his home part of the world from a little bit further down the Princess Freeway at Sale. Here's Crisp. 163 consecutive games for Jack Crisp. Plenty of fantasy owners would be watching today's game and maybe penciling him in as a selection. He kicked it to a man who they might be doing the same with in Sicily as the Hawks sweep it across the centre. Nice kick from Morrison. Releases the run of Bramble. He'll send the Hawks inside the 50 again. Up high was Lewis. Did he pull that in? No, it's gone the other way. And Johnson in defence for the Pies there. Dacos, that's Josh out to Grundy. Handball along the ground to Lipinski, who gets it up to Myercheck, and Collingwood continue to build the footy forward here. Now Ginnivan, he was a great pickup in his rookie season as well. Terrific spoil from Morrison. Came across Elliott. Pies try and keep possession inside the 50, and Bramble's going to win a free kick. It's certainly on. Harry Morrison going back with the flight in a practice game. You love to see that. If you're a Hawk supporter, it's come out that under Sam Mitchell they're going to have a tough and attacking style of footy. So, get back to more of that unsociable Hawks tag that they had there whilst they were successful, and certainly Mitch was a part of that. So I don't think Sam Mitchell would know any other way. No, well. I think you're going to need to play like that if you're going to play in a Sam Mitchell coach side. And Harry Morrison, the Benalla product, contract year for him, coming off probably a frustrating year last year where he missed a few games with hamstring injuries. He'll be wanting to make an impression. Yeah, he definitely will across that half-back line. I think they like his run and also his just be able to distribute the footy by foot. So hopefully Harry can keep his body sound. He's had a great pre-season, and wish him all the best this year. Peterson and Steve Gillam with you on KO Sports. And separating these two sides through 7 minutes. A couple of stoppages on the outer wing. McAvoy, so crafty in ruck. O'Meara slams it forward. Hawks have numbers there. Kajitsky, who had a solid year last year for Hawthorn. Can't quite take possession cleanly here. Newcomb's been busy early. And he's in the play again here, kicking inside the 50. Gunston's after it. Quaynor's right there with him, and Gunston's pretty happy to step that across the boundary line.
Yeah, good to see Jack out there. He's moving really well. Obviously had a really frustrating year last year with that back injury. Only managed the one game against St Kilda. So it's good for the side, but it's also good for those young forwards in Lewis and Kazitsi to have a leader like Jack out there.
Someone who plays with such craft. He's a real technician inside the forward 50. Is Jack Gunston, Quaynor, such an exciting prospect for Collingwood fans. Goes long outside the defensive 50, and Scrimshaw gets a nice fist to that. He continues. He's another one who Hawks fans will be pretty keen to see. You can see at the bottom of your screen there, big Mason Cox waiting to come on the ground, and he's got the prescription sunglasses approved by the AFL.
There was a photo tweeted out by the club before the game. He looked like the Terminator with those goggles on. So channeling a bit of Arnie, Big Mason.
Part Terminator, part Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I think. Big Mason.
He's really important for the Pies. I reckon, a couple of years ago when they made that really strong run and absolutely smashed Richmond in a prelim final, the best game you've ever seen him play, hoping that the goggles return him to that sort of form, I think. Maybe that's what he's needed. That's what he's been missing. He can't see the ball.
It could be. And I'll tell you what, if he's marking the ball like he did in that game against Richmond with the goggles on, who knows? It is a very strange sight, though. It is unusual, but whatever you need, Mason, that's what's going to make it work. Here's Dacos, Nick Dacos, a little handball through the traffic to Myercheck, finds Ginnivan, who rises and marks. So Nick Dacos involved in a potential scoring chain here for the Pies, and Ginnivan's on the end of it. He's normally pretty sharp in front of the sticks.
Looks pretty composed already, doesn't he, Dacos? And that's what they'll be hoping. That last ball inside 50 is so crucial to your scoring chain and being able to set up your forwards for this shot. So they've looked really good when they've moved the ball quick. Collingwood getting out the back of Hawthorn's defence.
So Ginnivan kicked 3 against the Pies last year when they met late in the season, and he's got one early here at Morwell, and Collingwood in front through 10 minutes of the opening term.
Yeah, it's been a little bit scrappy. I think maybe that's to do with the conditions, but I also mentioned just early in the season, I think, everyone's just so keen and eager to get on with it and get the ball forward and keep it moving at all costs that sometimes you just need a little bit of composure, and that was great composure by Myercheck there, just going inside 50, saw Ginnivan out of the corner of his eyes, and he was able to kick truly.
The rookie list. Jack Ginnivan, Castlemaine product through the Strathfield Safe Storm Footy Club. 5 games, 5 goals last season. Some nice 5 games, 6 goals in fact. 16 the VFL in 8 games to earn his AFL call-up. See Mason Cox in the ruck against Ed Reeves. Only a height in that duel. Only one of them wearing the spectacles though. Will go out of the middle. Kazitsi chases after this, won't be able to keep it in. Right there with him was Dean for the Pies, one of their rookies out of Williamstown, the Fothergill Round Mitchell medalist from last season. Will be tossed back in at the town end. Mitchell's lurking around the stoppage as he so often is, at 40 plus against the Pies when they met last year. Sharp chain of handballs ends with O'Meara. He sends it toward goal for the Hawks, but good defence from the Pies, able to see it across for another rush behind.
Just one for the Hawks fans. You can see 31 on your screen. Connor McDonald, I think he was our 3rd pick, 25 overall in the national draft last year. Looks ready to go. He looks really composed at the level. Can find the footy. Here he is again. Uses the footy well, has got a bit of creativity with how he uses the ball as well, so I think he's one to keep an eye on Hawks fans.
A run and dash about him. He loads up on the right of those bright yellow boots, sends it inside the 50. Adams there for the Pies to tumble it back the other way to Hoskin Elliott, out of side bottom. So important when they're up and running, those 3 really, the trio among this Collingwood side. A great chase down tackle. Hartigan just got the handball away for the Hawks. Elliott's there to apply some pressure, trying to tumble it inside the forward 50, but Hartigan stands in the way, and then Elliott knocks down the handball of Sicily, and then he backheeled it to James Sicily. That's not quite how he drew it up. Scrimshaw in defence for the Hawks, and they can settle off half-back here through Warple.
Just so good to see James Sicily out there. He's been involved a couple of times that give him the world of confidence, and he looks like he's really enjoying himself out there.
The game is richer for having him. Seamus Mitchell, one of the new faces for Hawthorn, linked up with Reeves. O'Meara left it behind. The Hawks work it forward Here's McDonald again, who's been busy, as you alluded to, Steve. Hawks everywhere inside the 50. Mitchell Lewis can't take the mark, chases it to the boundary line, flicks it over the head, more off a standing start. Got the fat side of the footy, it bounces across the face. And Josh Dacos worked that nicely, tapped it to his own advantage, and he's away with a gallop, kicking toward the broadcast side where Myercheck goes with one hand. Can't quite pull it in. He's going to end up with his own handball here just about. Flicked it up to Adams. High footy inside the 50 for the Pies. That's a huge spoil from Hartigan. And they can run it defensively here through Denver Granger Barras. And he's another Hawthorn player who there's a lot to like. And a Collingwood player went flying through the gate there. That's Dean. So the gate there on the boundary line at Morwell wasn't quite closed properly. And unfortunately, young Charlie Dean's come off the wrong side of it.
Oh, well, it's ended okay, but geez, that could have been a lot worse than what it was. Hopefully he's all right. It looks like he is.
Mason Cox in the ruck, won it down. Collects the handball from Lipinski and then smashes it forward. The breeze certainly favouring that end of the ground at the freeway end. And Sicily's been paid for a free kick in the wrestle, and you can see the disbelief on the face of James Sicily. And we know they're cracking down on this year.
Yeah.
And the umpires paid a 50 against him.
Yeah, well, he's prone a little bit, Sis, to have a word if he's not happy, whether that's the umpires or the opposition or even his
anyone
own
in the general
teammates.
vicinity.
At times, he has sort of in his time off. There was a great article written about him by Josh Gablich at afl.com.au this morning that basically said that, you know, since he's 18 months off, he's got involved in some list management. He's really keen to go down that path, and I think he's really matured as well. And he's just, you know, got a little bit of perspective about and love for the game again. He was just a little bit unlucky there, just copped Elliott high a little bit. And yeah, as you said, mate, the umps aren't going to be taking any back chat.
Love him or hate him, James Sicily, he's one of the game's great characters, and he makes people like him make the game a little bit richer for the way that they go about their business.
Yeah, that's right. You know, he's one of those players that you love being out there and watching him play the game, but also, you know, he plays on the edge as well, and so I think that's good for the side. It's good for James and how he gets the best out of himself. So he's just got to temper that. You know, obviously you don't want to be costing your side goals like that. So Collingwood skip away, a couple of goals lead.
Premiership Hawks, Steve Gillam with you on KO Sports alongside Joel Peterson calling the action here from Morwell. Tyler Brown in the centre. The Hawks tries to rip it away. The Pies, I should say, but the Hawks, the clearance. It'll come back through side bottom for Collingwood. Flat ball up toward half forward. Cox came across. Couldn't quite pull in the mark. Hawks have got numbers behind the footy. Hartigan to Sicily. Got the handball out over the boundary line. Good pressure from Collingwood inside the 50. And there's a little bit on. Hartigan's in the wrestle. So too Grundy. Myercheck having his say. Umpires trying to keep play moving among all that. And it's going to be a free kick going to James Sicily in the end for the Hawks. Drives a low kick outside the defensive 50. Mitchell read it so beautifully off the hands. Handball to McGuinness through the centre of the ground. And now on to Nat, who's somewhat reinvented as a midfielder late in the season last year. There's the kick wide. Newcombe did well, kept his composure, tumbled it inside the 50, and that's a juggling effort in defence for the Pies to Dean, who's looked pretty good early. The Pies have moved the footy well here in the opening stages, Steve.
They have. They've sort of settled into the game a little bit more. You know, they're a little bit more composed by foot, willing to sort of, use the ball with their foot. Jack couldn't get that done from the goal square off the ground, but yeah, and they build it up, and then once they hit that centre line, they're willing to go quick and get it into their dangerous and elusive forwards like Elliott's looked dangerous and Ginnivan and these guys. So you can see sort of what Craig's wanting to do. He wants to take ground with kicking the footy and maintain possession, and then once they get to a certain part on the ground, they go quick, and here they go again.
Yeah, they're off again here, Collingwood. Lipinski measures the pass down the line. Myercheck rose, couldn't take it with him, and then couldn't quite pick it up in the one hand. Great defensive work from Granger Barras, and they're going to be able to come away with this, Hawthorn. Bramble Handball to McGuinness. Now the kick into the centre of the ground to Nash, who's a pretty imposing figure in the centre at 194 centimetres, the big Irishman.
He is. You said it before, he sort of reinvented himself. They tried him as a forward and almost a defensive forward at times last year, which just really wasn't working for him. And then in the end, whether it was by design or necessity, he went into the middle and he was fantastic. I think his last 4 to 6 games were outstanding, and it looks like he's going to continue on in that vein through the midfield.
Averaged 20 touches over those last 4 games last year, Connor Nash. 29 games for the Hawks since being picked up as a rookie in 2017. Ball rumbles over the boundary line again in front of the grandstand here at Morwell. Great to have footy back in Gippsland.
Bit of feeling in this one, Joe.
There is.
Bit of push and shove. It's good to see. Like the players out there, you know, obviously everyone's getting a go out there today, but I feel like with the new coaches, everyone sort of starts fresh, and you're proving yourself again almost to the new coach and the new coaching panel, but also to yourself and your teammates, just about, you know, staking your claim for round one, because as we know, even though it's a practice game, you know, the coaches will debrief this, and it sort of sets you off on the right foot or not for the season.
Ranger Barra's got absolutely coat-hangered there by Lipinski as he came into mark. Lipinski was just at a wrong place, wrong time, and gives away the 50. So the first round pick from previous year for Hawthorn kicks inside the 50. It only just got inside the 50 in the end. Trying to chase it down there for the Hawks. Seamus Mitchell, he could collect it cleanly. Now a free kick going to the Pies at half back. It's like Noble to take it on the outer side. The mid-season draftee of a couple of years ago out of West Adelaide. And a handy pick-up. One of a number of players from the mid-season drafts who have been able to make an impact. You look at Newcomb, who had an instant impact as well for the Hawks.
Yeah, and Lockie Bramble last year as well. They were 2 of the better players in the back half of the season for the Hawks. So it just goes to show that if you miss out on the draft, you know, and subsequent drafts, there's, you know, it's great to see the AFL opening up these channels for second chances for these players, whether that's lifting the under 18, you know, aged with 19-year-olds being able to play, or being able to sign players to train on with teams for the supplementary selections in the pre-season drafts, and then the mid-season obviously as well.
Oh, great pressure from Ginnivan. Has he won a free kick for the Pies there? He has in the forward pocket. So Jack Ginnivan, having kicked a goal already in this term, he's going to have a pretty tough chance here in the right forward pocket, but a forward these days, they're pretty good at slotting these ones.
It looks like he's just setting up a couple of steps, round on the left foot, snap it through. He's looking to give it up, but I don't think he's that keen, is he?
So Ginnivan on the left boot to the freeway end, has no trouble with that. And Collingwood have got 4 in the opening term here at Morwell. The Pies fans will be very happy with what they're seeing.
Pretty jealous of his haircut, Joel. He's got the full headband to keep that hair out of his eyes. But he started really well. He's got a couple of goals. There's great pressure, and you know that's what Collingwood have brought. They brought an outstanding pressure around the ball when caught Frost there. They get it in quick. They give their forwards a chance, and then if they don't win it, they're sort of all over Hawthorn, turning them around, running them back towards goal, creating those chances. And Craig McRae, the forwards coach, would be absolutely loving what they're seeing at the moment.
So Hawthorn with the first of the game, and then Collingwood with the next 4. It's a 15-point spread. 6 25-minute quarters for you this afternoon on KO Sports. Joel Peterson and Premiership Hawks Steve Gillum calling it for you. Ed Reeves trots around the centre circle, bashes into Brodie Grundy and tries to win it down. Lipinski had a go, but it's going to be Crisp who rips it away for Collingwood. Handball to Adams, low kick inside the 50. Myercheck up, brought it down to himself, snapped it around the body, not quite, bounces out for a throw.
Yeah, Grundy looks sharp in the middle. He's just sort of schooling Reeves a little bit, you know, with that experience and big body around. And then, you know, Adams is starting to get involved. Myercheck's been involved in everything early. It's good signs for the Pie supporters that their prime movers are up and moving.
Lipinski's up and moving at the stoppage. Take it with him. Elliott's there again. Here is Lipinski. First game for Collingwood, at least in an unofficial capacity, and his first goal in the black and white.
Oh, it was just great play. It was just great design. The midfielders getting to the forward stoppage. Obviously, midfielders around stoppages are better than forwards in that role. So read it off hands, runs through at pace. Frosty looked like he almost sort of gave it up. Elliott gets his hand in there or his foot, and it was a great snap in the end round the corner and kicked 5 on the trot. The Pies, 5 straight.
Yeah. Pat Lipinski, 5 seasons at the Western Bulldogs, 56 games in that time. Just couldn't quite crack into their side, but he looks like one who's ready-made to slot into this Collingwood midfield.
Does. They run pretty deep. You see Steele on the wing there, and Adams and Grundy, and Pendlebury's coming back now, so they've got them all over the field, and that's what you need. You need a really deep midfield that can stay on the field and either change through the wing or high half forward or through half back.
Can the Pies jag another one here late in the piece? Grundy might have to do the clearance work. Arms it up to Dacos. Kicks inside the 50. Cox the target. Adams there. Handball mid-air from Dacos. That was very clever. Newcombe gets back for the Hawks though. Now Sicily a chance to repel the danger for Hawthorn. Hugs the boundary line with the kick but finds more. Goes back behind his mark and then launches it up the wing. Big run at it there for Kajitsky. Couldn't pull it in. The Pies, they've done so much early in this game, quickly move it back the other way. But Bramble's bursting away with it for Hawthorn. He sends it toward half forward. O'Meara takes it, spears the pass inside the 50. Ben McAvoy tried to take the slips catch after he juggled it up high, went down low, lunging away, couldn't pull it in. It was pretty agile though from the big fella. And now a chance for Josh Dacos. And Adams down the outer side for the Pies, and now Cox is involved. Those spectacles are going to be some kind of sight here in this new season. He launches it inside the 50, and again Elliott's up, having kicked 2 already. He'll have a chance right toward the end of this opening term. Jamie Elliott coming off a strong season, 2-time leading goal kicker, 25 goals last season after being tormented by injuries for so long. We know what a talent he is when he can get out there. From just inside the 50 to provide the perfect end to the first quarter for Collingwood. 6 in a row for the Pies.
They've deserved it. They've played really good footy after Dylan Moore kicked the first for the Hawks pretty early in the game. They've just been a lot sharper, a lot cleaner with the footy going inside 50. They've moved it really well to their dangerous forwards. Elliott's got a couple. Some of their mids have squeezed down. Lipinski got a goal. Ginnivan's got a couple. So just Hawthorn, it might be a little bit of a breeze to that end. We're not sure. We'll sort of be able to tell a little bit more after this next quarter. But looks, a little bit too easy from a Hawthorn perspective. When they do go forward, they look really dangerous and like they're going to score more times than they're not. And going back the other way, we saw that O'Meara kick inside 50. It's sort of been the way that Hawthorn have had enough opportunities, but they haven't been able to connect with forwards and keep it in there and look dangerous for any period of time.
So a great start for Collingwood. Lipinski's in the action again in the middle. Plenty to be encouraged about if you're a Pies fan. The opening stages here. Lipinski spins his way through the traffic. Handball out. Josh Dacos tries to weave his way through. Kicks wide, side bottom, chased it to the boundary. Kept it in somehow. Handball's off to Pendlebury. The old firm combining inside the 50. Elliott's the target again. Couldn't mark. Bianco's there. Flicked the handball over his head, but the Hawks have got numbers around the footy. Mitchell defensively. Now Sicily, all run down by Elliott. Just got it away. The pressure from Collingwood, great inside the 50. Elliott has another go at full forward. Spiking it was Hardigan to just try and desperately clear the danger area. And the Hawks bounce it out toward Gunston at half back. At least get the safety of touch for now.
It will, James Sicily's had 18 months off, so it is going to take him a little bit of time to just pick up the pace again. Having such a long time off, I know I've come back from a couple of knee reconstructions, and he'll get there, and he'll pick it up pretty quickly. But just that few times he's just been caught and he just hasn't been quick enough with ball in hand. But in saying that, the Collingwood forwards, their small forwards have put elite pressure on in that forward line. They seems to be a bit of a game plan to get it in quick and just lock it in there and either score or get multiple looks.
I've locked it across the half forward line here. Shiphawk Steve Gillen with you here on KO Sports. Collingwood 6 straight goals after Hawthorn kicked the first of the match here at Morwell. Princess Freeway in the background. Overcast skies. Gippsland. Tyler Brown in on the tackle. And the Pies will win a free kick here, and it's going to be Nick Dacos, number 4 pick last year. Loads up inside the 50. Hawks everywhere. Being able to take the mark was McAvoy, but he's going to get a free kick for the chop of the arms. Skipper again this season. Plenty of young players to lead. That's not his best kick, and it's got straight to Brodie Myercheck. Probably from out there, have the breeze behind him, you'd say.
Yeah, it was a great mark. Probably, you want like Jack Scrimshaw or Harry Morrison running past Ben McAvoy in that scenario, distributing the footy rather than your big ruckman going for the switch, which is a little bit ambitious, and Brady was ready for it.
Just can't find the finish, though, the leading goal kicker of the last 3 seasons for Collingwood. They are creating plenty of opportunities here, the Pies. Leading by 28 points.
I do just get the feeling that the wind might be favouring that end a little bit, just with Brodie's kick there. You just sort of, he's on the arc and he's easily made the distance without trying. So they might have, a 4 or 5 goal sort of breeze behind their back, the Pies, in this first term.
Randall kicks in long, and it's going to come straight back the other way. Again, another entry for Collingwood, and here is Mason Cox. The big fella's got it 40 out directly in front.
Reckon any of the Hawks boys are sort of giving him a little bit of banter out there today, Joel?
It's possible, I'd say, Steve. It's possible.
Maybe James Sicily and a couple others.
He wouldn't be the type to have a word, would he?
I hope they are. I hope they're having a bit of fun with Big Mason. We know that he loves that side of the game, the bit of trash talk himself, going back the other way.
Well, he's got the glasses on. Does he have the kicking boots on? He certainly does in the opening term, Mason Cox. He flips the glasses off, celebrates with his teammates, and Collingwood have got 7 goals to start the opening term, and they lead by 34 points at the opening change. Collingwood 7-1-43 to Hawthorn 1-3-9. The Hawks bagged the first of the game in the opening minute to Dylan Moore. Collingwood with the next 7 goals at Morwell to open up a 34-point quarter-time lead. Great to have your company on KO Sports. Second quarter coming up very shortly. It is a very strange sight, though. It is unusual, but whatever you need, Mason, that's what's going to make it work. Here's Dacos, Nick Dacos, a little handball through the traffic to Myercheck, finds Ginnivan, who rises and marks.
Of Hawthorn's defence.
So Ginnivan kicked 3 against the Pies last year when they met late in the season, and he's got one early here at Morwell, and Collingwood in front through 10 minutes of the ruck. Won it down. Collects the handball from Lipinski. And then smashes it forward. The breeze certainly favouring that end of the ground at the freeway end. And Sicily's beats going to be a free kick going to James Sicily in the end for the Hawks. Drives a low kick outside the defensive 50. Mitchell read it so beautifully off the hands. Handball to
pre-season drafts and then the mid-season obviously as well.
Oh, great pressure from Ginnivan. Has he won a free kick for the Pies there? He has in the forward pocket.
He's looking to give it up, but I don't think he's that keen, is he?
So Ginnivan on the left boot to the freeway end, has no trouble with that. And Collingwood have got 4 in the opening.
What is it? Their prime movers are up and moving.
Lipinski's up and moving at the stoppage. Take it with him. Elliott's there again. Here is Lipinski. First game for Collingwood, at least in an unofficial capacity, and his first goal in the black and white. Side for the Pies, and now Cox is involved. Those spectacles are going to be some kind of sight here in this new season. He launches it inside the 50, and again Elliott's up, having kicked, been tormented by injuries for so long. We know what a talent he is when he can get out there. From just inside the 50 to provide the perfect end to the first quarter for Collingwood. 6 in a row for the Pies. It is a very strange sight, though. It is unusual, but whatever you need, Mason, that's what's going to make it work. Here's Dacos, Nick Dacos, a little handball through the traffic to Myercheck, finds Ginnivan, who rises and marks.
Of Hawthorn's defence.
So Ginnivan kicked 3 against the Pies last year when they met late in the season, and he's got one early here at Morwell, and Collingwood in front through 10 minutes of the ruck. Won it down. Collects the handball from Lipinski. And then smashes it forward. The breeze certainly favouring that end of the ground at the freeway end. And Sicily's beats going to be a free kick going to James Sicily in the end for the Hawks. There's a low kick outside the defensive 50. Mitchell read it so beautifully off the hands. Handball to me.
Pre-season drafts and then the mid-season obviously as well.
Oh, great pressure from Ginnivan. Has he won a free kick for the Pies there? He has in the forward pocket.
He's looking to give it up, but I don't think he's that keen, is he?
So Ginnivan on the left boot to the freeway end, has no trouble with that. And Collingwood have got 4 in the opening.
What is it? Their prime movers are up and moving.
Lipinski's up and moving at the stoppage. Take it with him. Elliott's there again. Here is Lipinski. First game for Collingwood, at least in an unofficial capacity, and his first goal in the black and white. Side for the Pies, and now Cox is involved. Those spectacles are going to be some kind of sight here in this new season. He launches it inside the 50, and again Elliott's up, having kicked, been tormented by injuries for so long. We know what a talent he is when he can get out there. From just inside the 50 to provide the perfect end to the first quarter for Collingwood. 6 in a row for the Pies. It is a very strange sight, though. It is unusual, but whatever you need, Mason, that's what's going to make it work. Here's Dacos, Nick Dacos, a little handball through the traffic to Myercheck, finds Ginnivan, who rises and marks.
Of Hawthorn's defence.
So Ginnivan kicked 3 against the Pies last year when they met late in the season, and he's got one early here at Morwell, and Collingwood in front through 10 minutes of the ruck. Won it down. Collects the handball from Lipinski. And then smashes it forward. The breeze certainly favouring that end of the ground at the freeway end. And Sicily's beats going to be a free kick going to James Sicily in the end for the Hawks. There's a low kick outside the defensive 50. Mitchell read it so beautifully off the hands. Handball to me.
Pre-season drafts and then the mid-season obviously as well.
Oh, great pressure from Ginnivan. Has he won a free kick for the Pies there? He has in the forward pocket.
He's looking to give it up, but I don't think he's that keen, is he?
So Ginnivan on the left boot to the freeway end, has no trouble with that. Quarter time at Morwell Recreation Reserve. Collingwood with a 7-goal opening term. Kicked all 7 of them unanswered. The Hawks with the first of the game in the opening minutes. Pies with all the play after that on the scoreboard at least. And at quarter time it's a 34-point Collingwood lead. 7-1-43 to the Hawks 1-3-9. Jamie Elliott's got 3 for the Pies. Jack Ginnivan a couple. Mason Cox and Pat Lipinski have each got goals, and Hawthorn's goal through Dylan Moore. I'm Joel Peterson alongside Premiership Hawk Stephen Gillum. Steve, what jumped out to you in that opening term?
Oh, well, Collingwood's pressure jumped out. So they were all over Hawthorn, all over the ground, particularly inside their own 50, which would be pleasing for Collingwood fans and the Collingwood coaches. And that's what they need to do again in this quarter. I thought they got in on top, Grundy in the middle and some of their more experienced players. Lipinski looks like he's going to be a good move for them in the middle, combining with the Dacos brothers. And a few others that moved through there that gave their forwards really good looks, side bottom moving through there. And then Hawthorn just couldn't sort of chain it together and connect with their forwards. But we think there might be a goal, 4 or 5 goal breeze to the right-hand side. So we'll see how we go.
See those flags on the outer side fluttering toward the freeway end to the right of your screen. Opening clearance through Chris, but Sicily is able to pick it off. Had a pretty busy opening term in that Hawthorn defensive unit. Gunston wheels away and fires the Hawks inside the 50, and a big mark pulled in by Ned Reeves at full forward.
Big grab. He's a big boy, Ned Reeves. He's another pre-season under his belt, and you know, that's what you love to see, the resting ruckman going forward and being able to take big clunks like that. But just a great piece of play. Sicily cuts it off, gets it to Gunston, goes quickly forward to the big target, and you know, hopefully Hawthorn, he can slot this and Hawthorn can get themselves back into it.
5 games last season for Ned Reeves, only the 1 goal, and he gets the Hawks on the board to start the second term. Hawthorn with their second, and much like in the opening term, it comes in the opening minute of the quarter. They narrow the gap to 28 points.
Just from a Hawthorn perspective in that first quarter, I was really pleased with Dylan Moore's work rate. He obviously hit the scoreboard early, but he was the bit of the connector role between through the arcs there. Other guys that impressed me in that first quarter were Lockie Bramble through the middle. Josh Ward got his hands on the ball a few times, which was good to see from the youngster, the number 1 pick for the Hawks last year. Connor McDonald got his hands on the footy, and Jai Newcomb. So from all reports, all of those boys have had big pre-seasons and will be looking to stake their claim for round 1 as we see Hawker getting amongst the faithful down at Moore.
Would you call him peckish if he's doing that kind of thing?
Very good, Joel. Very good.
It's almost like the Toronto Raptors mascot that gets around to the big blow-up mascot and literally just eats people, swallows
just
them up.
Just inhales them.
Might need to get that mascot a sandwich at half-time, I think. If he can't be walking around just assaulting people like that. Oh, getting assaulted there was O'Meara got dragged into the turf by Adams and then fires back in at him. Grundy lays on top of it all. Sidebottom tries to jam it forward for Collingwood. Coming out after it is Hoskin Elliott. Such an important player is that link-up player for the Pies. Inside the 50, and Myercheck rises and marks.
Just judge the ball fight a lot better than Granger Barras on that occasion. I think there is, it is a little bit hard to tell, but I think there is a breeze, a fairly significant stiff breeze going to the right hand of the screen. So just picked it up a lot better, Brody Myercheck.
Hooks it around the body. Has it done enough work? Oh, it has. That's a great finish. Hooking it back from right to left, and the Pies with the instant answer to the early Hawthorn goal in the second term.
Geez, he's turned himself into a really good player, Brody Myercheck. He does a lot of the hard work in that Collingwood forward line, but he also, you know, bobs up and he's kicked bags of goals on occasions. He's, you know, 2, 3, 4 goals, games, getting shots, and setting his teammates up as well. We talked about earlier multiple channels, you know, through the state leagues and the talent pathways at junior levels these days. There's multiple, and he's one that, you know, had a crack at Port Melbourne in the VFL for years before he got his opportunity, and then when it came, he took it with both hands, and he's done very, very well for himself.
It's been a real find for them. So too is this man for the Hawks. Warple bursting out of the middle, tumbles it inside the 50. Back there is Quainer. Well, last line of defence, Moore has a bit of a fumble for the Pies. Quainer goes in again. Handball just evaded Noble, who couldn't quite get a clean grasp at it.
Hawks will be hoping from a big year from James Warple. He won the best and fairest a couple of years ago when Tom Mitchell went down with that broken leg, but ever since they've sort of coexisted in the same team together, he just hasn't been able to hit those highs again. So hopefully he's in for a big year from a Hawks perspective this year, James Warple.
He found his feet late last year.
Yeah, and I guess that's going to happen, isn't it? You know, he was used to a team playing a certain way, and then they had to change the dynamic up with the personnel changes, so he's just sort of working out where they can coexist in the same side.
See big Nathan Kruger laying the tackle there on Kyle Hartigan for the Pies, the number 15. Of course, cross from Geelong in the off-season, former South Adelaide product. Limited opportunity at the Cats in his time there. Warple and Pendlebury having a couple of words.
Yeah, there's a little bit of feeling in this game.
A little bit of spirit.
Bit of niggle, which is, yeah, always good to see. Good to see the footy back.
There's Ward, who tumbles one forward for the Hawks. 7th pick in the draft last season. Pendlebury, so clean in traffic. Handball to Lipinski, had it knocked down. Bramble doing some good work, but it's spilt to Adams, who turns on a dime and darts it up the line. Myercheck pulls it in. Collingwood are away. Hoskin Elliott will go through the 50 to Pendlebury, who normally sizes things up pretty well. Elects to dish it off. Ginnivan goes one more. Kruger into the open goal, tumbles it through.
Give the the new player a look at a goal. It was great team play by Collingwood. Just how good's Taylor Adams? Just spins around, hits my check over the top to Elliott with handball, and a few Pies supporters have made the trek down. It looks like a really good crowd down at Morwell, so they're in for a great day down there. But just great play, unselfish play, and you love to see that. When it doesn't matter who it is that kicks the goals, as long as the side kicks the goals and they get around the big fella for his first major for the club.
Sharing the love. I tried him last year as a defender, Geelong. He's played both ends, and looks like Collingwood, certainly to start here, have chucked him up forward. Yeah,
so, great for him to be on the scoreboard. That'll do him the world of good in terms of his confidence and just, feeling amongst the group. And, it's always a good feeling when you put one through and everyone gets around you. So hopefully he can kick on from here.
You mentioned Josh Ward before. Big challenge for him standing alongside Steele Sidebottom.
Yeah, well, I think probably Sam's thinking that, let's teach him how to play with one of the competition's elite players, so I think Josh will learn a lot out of today.
One of the best wingers in the game. Sidebottom tackled there. Warple rips it away. Tyler Brown goes in. Toe pokes it forward. Warple burrows in again. Flicked it out of there somehow. Myercheck a toe poke across the centre square that worked out pretty nicely. Oh, Kinnavan got dumped in the tackle, taken high. Ranger Barras a little bit overzealous, according to the umpire. Jack Ginnivan's got it in the middle for the Pies. Handball off to Maynard. Low kick toward the 50. Ward got a hand to it to knock it away from Sidebottom. The Pies pressure locks it up once more.
Ranger Barras at the bottom of that pack. He's a bit fiery. DGB, as he's known, down at Waverley. So, adding to the spirit of this contest.
Sidebottom rips it away from the stoppage, tumbles it inside the forward 50, through the arms of Myercheck, out to Bianco. His left foot shots, just away to the right.
Getting plenty of looks, Collingwood. Just controlling the game through the middle of the ground on their terms at the moment. We think that probably there might be a 3 or 4 goal breeze to the right of your screen at home. So they're doing a really good job to lock it in their half of the ground at the moment.
Collingwood by 41. Ball travels into the centre, and a strong mark taken by Mitchell. Best and fairest last season. Third time Peter Crimmon's medalist, sends it out wide. It's cut off by Crisp, who was the respective best and fairest at Collingwood last year, the Copeland Trophy winner. They work it down the outer side here, the Pies, where they've moved the ball so crisply so far in this game. Setting up another attacking opportunity on the lead. A great mark taken again. Elliott's in it once more.
Well, he's kicked 3. He's lining up number 4. And if Jamie Elliott can catch fire for the Magpies this year, they're going to be hard to beat. They're getting plenty of looks. They're just sort of controlling things, cutting Hawthorn's 4A forwards a lot of the time. The Hawks just need to be a little bit cleaner by foot going forward, but it's due to Collingwood's pressure by the same token. They're putting on elite pressure. We don't unfortunately have access to the stats and the champion data stats, but you'd think that their pressure level is through the roof at the moment, the Pies.
We know he can be a match winner, Jamie Elliott, and he's got 4 in the first half here at Morwell. Collingwood with 10 goals on the board, and we're only 9 minutes into the second term. There's some very happy Pies fans.
Collingwood supporters are cheering at home and at the ground. And why not? It's a great style of footy that they're playing. They're being, hunting the ball carrier when the Hawthorn's got it. And when they've got it, they've been really clean going forward. They've got a really good system. They're working for each other to create space. And Jamie Elliott gets on the end of that one, but they're really working well together, creating space, looking dangerous up forward. Every time they go forward, you feel like they're going to score. And it'd be a great forward line to be in at the moment because you feel like you're going to get plenty of opportunity.
A couple of Hawk supporters there, very brave in front of the Gippsland Magpie supporters group, I would have thought. Maybe not the spot to be loitering at the moment. I'd say it'd be a pretty rowdy bunch, the supporters group. Camped on the outer side up at the freeway end.
What's the sentiment in AFL circles about the Pies this year and where they'll sort of finish on the ladder at the end of the season, Joel, do you think?
I think the understanding is that they're just such a young team. They're clearly in a space of transition, and Craig McRae. I think that both of these teams, really, when you look at the fact that they've named 91 players for a practice match between them, that just screams development to me, being the focus for both of them. I think they're actually in a really similar position list-wise, where clearly development is the focus for both of these clubs.
Yeah, no doubt. I've got a better handle on the Hawthorn side of things, and that's absolutely where they're at. They're getting games into young players, but Collingwood changing coaches at the end of last year, and a really young developing list as well is sort of at the same stage. So it'd be interesting to see how both sides come out of this and where they go to from here this season.
Elliott met Hartigan solidly and then picked the footy up, kicked it to full forward. Kruger in the pack goes the swan dive over the top. Couldn't take it with him. The tackle laid at full back for the Hawks by McGuinness to lock things up. He's another big body who looks ready to roll for the Hawks.
Yeah, he does. It's just, really impressive to see the physicality in this game from both sides so far.
Maybe come back in here for Collingwood, although slapping it out toward the boundary line. Maybe a deliberate free kick. Will Hoskin-Elliott flicks the ball back to the boundary umpire, not quite there. Brody Grundy on the bench, having a spell at the moment. Mason Cox to do battle with Reeves in the ruck. Collingwood by 47 points. Joel Peterson and Steve Gillum calling it for you here on KO Sports. Nash to Newcomb, tumbles it down the boundary. Crisp will mop up. You get used to saying that if you're a Pies fan. Darcy Moore, great to see him back out there and ready to go. Still side bottom, turns straight for the bench after he kicks it. Cox almost drags in the mark. Moore the other way. Nash and O'Meara by hand, ran into trouble, turned it over. Adams to Pendlebury. His little hand pass went astray, and Bramble was there to take it away for the Hawks. Just spirals it forward. There's numbers out the back here. Kajitsky is awake to it, sends it toward full forward. Lewis with a rise. One hand couldn't pull it in. It would have been some mark. Brockman tries to make good of the situation. Maynard stands in the way for the Pies. The handball to Dacos goes over the boundary line. But Mitch Lewis going up with the one mitt was... we know he's athletic. That would have been something else.
Would have. He just sort of got a little bit out of shape launching at that footy. Just the Collingwood defender put him off balance. But it would have been an awesome grab to pull down. Here he is again.
A chance maybe for the Hawks to lock it inside the 50. Or do better than that and score. But again, the Pies are just so dominant in these situations so far. Morrison for Hawthorn. Back to Newcomb. He's been everywhere in this opening half. Sends it to full forward. Kajitsky got a really good run at it and two hands to the ball. Wasn't paid or couldn't take the mark. McDonald's there. Handball back to Newcomb. Kick partially smothered on the way through, and Myercheck takes it away for the Pies. Adams just hacks it forward out toward the boundary line and over. And it'll be a free kick going the way of the Hawks on the wing.
Yeah, so I think two things at the moment. The Collingwood pressure on the Hawthorn ball carrier is really, really good. I think Hawthorn are probably just losing their shape a little bit ahead of the ball, and you can see the ball carrier just sort of hesitating a little bit with going forward. So Collingwood obviously doing a really good job with their defensive mechanisms behind the ball at the moment.
So McGuinness pumps the Hawks inside the forward 50. It'll get out the back. Moore has a snap on goal, bounces it toward goal, but can't get it through. Looks like there's a Pies player down inside the defensive 50. Isaac Quaino's a little bit slow to rise. 146 points. Away of Collingwood. And are in the arms of the trainers. So they'll want to see Collingwood fans. Hopefully the young charge is okay. We know what an electrifying talent off half-back he can be.
Yeah, that's just the worst possible result, getting yourself injured in a practice game. Are they holding... No, Dacos plays on, but yeah, obviously you want a really strong hit out for your squad, but yeah, you don't want to pick up, ideally, any injuries from either side. Hawks have got a few out, as we know, probably a handful of guys that won't be featuring today. Some of their key players, I guess, have had a little bit of a later start to pre-season, and Collingwood as well, but yeah, not what you want. Just want to get through to the end of the game, get in your car and be in one piece.
Collingwood's injury list is pretty clear. Jeremy Howe, Roughhead's going to miss a month. Howe should be right for round one with an adductor strain, they think, and Jordan Ngoe injured his ribs in the intra-club. The Pies hoping that he'll be okay as Moore locks it up inside the defensive 50. Will Day, the Hawks say he is unlikely for round one, recovering from that fractured ankle. Hopefully Giath isn't too far away for the Hawks. Chad Wingard should play next week among some of the other players, as Gunston has a snap-on goal and he can't get it home.
Yeah, the other two, so Luke Bruce just recovering, he just overbalanced and banged his head last week, so he should be fine and play next week. And also Jarman Impey won't be too far away as well. Some of the notable absentees from the Hawks and the Pies.
I guess at least at this stage of the season, no long-termers for either side, which is a big positive.
Absolutely, yeah, love to see that. Love to have healthy lists going into the year for sure.
See a few of the Collingwood players spinning the footy in their hands behind the bench there, as well as the players waiting to come back on. So 46 players named for Collingwood, so they're going to get a look at just about everyone in their squad here this afternoon, as Mason Cox slaps his hands in frustration, not being able to take the mark.
I think we just saw Darcy Moore kick in as well from fullback, so hadn't seen him take any part in this game until then as well. Good to see him out there for the Pies.
Yeah, we saw Nick Dacos doing it a little bit earlier on as well, the kick in after the Quaynor injury, so they're, well, A, backing in his skills, but B, willing to share it around as well, that duty. Maynard, great tackle, dispossessed Moore, got away with it somehow. Crisp, who's been really busy so far for the Pies, as you'd expect, finds Cox. He's going to hand it off. And down the line through the hands of Morrison for Hawthorn. Frost had a really big go at that off the ground, didn't make connection. Lipinski, handball taken by Sicily. Newcomb's been really busy for Hawthorn. Kicks a flat footy inside the forward 50. Maynard juggles it, not paid. Dean got boot to ball inside the back 50 for Collingwood. Moore tried to ride the tackle, got caught holding the ball. And Tom Mitchell, the ever-prolific Hawk, will have a ping from just inside the 50.
Sharp haircut that Tom's rocking today.
He's sharp.
Yeah, he's got the point at the back going on there for Tommy. Hopefully he can put this one through.
Mason Cox down on his haunches on the mark. If Mason Cox was on the mark and I was having a set shot for goal, I think the glasses would be enough to put me off. He wouldn't have to do anything. Wouldn't even have to stand up. Mitchell gets on the left peg and hooks it. And it misses to the right-hand side. So the margin 44 points. The way of Collingwood.
Just feels like the last 5 games Hawthorn have controlled the territory in this game and locking it in and getting multiple looks, just not able to convert on the scoreboard at the moment.
Premiership Hawk Steve Gillen with you on KO Sports, alongside Joel Peterson calling the action on this Friday afternoon. Great to have your company as Cox runs it across the boundary line. Morwell Recreation Reserve, home of the mighty Tigers, 3-time premiership team in the Gippsland League a few years ago. With a Collingwood connection, Harmit Singh was working at the Magpies at the time and coaching more. I think the likes of Tuck and Lockyer might have played for them at different stages. There was a bit of a Collingwood crew with a connection to the Tigers.
Yeah, by the looks of the crowd, they've definitely got the balance of support down there. I know the Hawks have got their fair share as well. They don't mind getting down to Morwell and sort of spending some time down there, aligned to Gippsland Power in the NAB League.
Part of the world in the Latrobe Valley. Scrimshaw kicks the Hawks inside the 50. Lewis couldn't pull it in, opposed to Moore. Dacos got upended by Dylan Moore. And it's going to be Josh Dacos who's got it at half back. Those two are still wrestling behind the footy, Dacos and Dylan Moore. There is plenty of willingness in this contest early. It's got just that little bit more feeling in it than the usual pre-season.
It's always nice. You've had all pre-season. You play some internal trials against your teammates. It's always nice to hit a body from an opposition team that first time for the year. So, plenty of feeling in this one. Bit of push and shove from both sides. It's it's certainly a spirited contest out there.
Breeze has picked up a bit here at this second turn. Word coming through that Isaac Quaynor has gone down to the rooms for a look on a head knock too. So. Hopefully the young Pie isn't too bad. Free kick coming to Mitch Lewis here right on the 50. he fancying his chances at having a ping from here?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's got the wind at his back. I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's a 50-metre arc on the ground that's painted there just in front of him. So he'd probably be looking to carry this about 55. He's definitely got that sort of length in his leg in him.
So let's see how he goes, kicking toward the freeway. Mitch Lewis will have to kick it every bit of 50 plus, launches into it, gives it a really good ride just away to the right-hand side.
Just a little bit wasteful. They're just sort of not getting as good a looks as Collingwood, as Pendlebury has the ball in hand. Again from the kick out, they're just sort of, just struggling to get their shots, and when they do, just not going through the big ones, unfortunately, for the Hawks supporters.
Collingwood with 4 straight behinds in this game, the last 4 scores. See Jarman Impey alongside the Hawthorn bench, just watching on, not playing this afternoon, leaning over and providing some advice. James Sicily takes it from in front of the interchange for the Hawks. Loads up inside the 50. Reeves took a good mark earlier in the term. Heavy fall there for Dean in the pack for the Pies. Nick Dacos at fullback. Just works it nicely, swings it across the defensive 50 to side bottom. Now Bianco for the Pies, on up toward Kruger, who's presented up strongly and had a bit of it here in this second term. And in front of the Magpie supporters group, a couple of Hawthorn jumpers, a random Richmond jumper. There's always someone who turns up to the footy in another team's colours.
Yeah, and we usually see like that random South Sydney just in the crowd somewhere from a rugby background, just whether it's in Australia or overseas.
Yep. Hashtag random Souths fan.
That's it.
There's no doubt there's one. There's always one. There is always one.
See if the cameraman down at Moore can pick him out.
Hawker's still doing the rounds in the background there as well. Let's hope he's had a feed. Sicily, he whacks it inside the arc for the Hawks. We know he can get some purchase on it. He got it all the way to the behind line. And over for another minor score for Hawthorn. They're 5th behind in a row now.
So, yeah, Hawthorn have obviously stemmed the flow. Collingwood have missed a few shots, granted, but Hawthorn have been able to control the game on their terms and play more in their territory, in their front half, which would be pleasing Sam Mitchell. They're just not being able to connect forward and get enough goals out of reward for effort, if you like, through their hard work through this quarter to plug the gap.
Good presentation from Kruger on the outer side. The lefty kicks inside the forward 50, numbers out the back here for Collingwood. Elliott to himself, runs into goal and kicks his 5th. Oh, Jamie Elliott on fire at Morwell. He's got 5. The Hawks, the Pies with 11.
Just super dangerous again. They get it over the back. Hawks would have loved to have brought that ball forward, but Kruger's leg is just massive penetration and it clears everyone. And Elliott, as all good forwards are, just reading it before everyone, a little toe up to himself, just so skillful, and puts it through the open goal.
Almost the Conor McKenna style chip solo.
Yeah, Gaelic style.
It was a very sharp bit of work from Jamie Elliott. So 5 in the opening half for Elliott. The 2-time leading goal kicker at Collingwood. 136 games, been plagued by injuries over his career, but we know that he's got every trick in the book when he's going.
So such a handful for any defence that lines up on him and the Pies this year. Almost have to send your best defender to him. He's kicked half their score to this point, and we're only sort of 2 quarters in of the 6.
So Collingwood with 11 of the past 12 goals in the game after Hawthorn got the first. Reeves off the ground. Brockman's up to meet it. Again, Crisp is there. He's had an absolute stack of it here in this opening half. No problems with Jack Crisp's form from last year carrying over into season 2022. Bramble chases it out to the boundary. It'll be thrown back in. We could see some of the emergency services in the background there. A strong relationship between particularly the Hawks and Collingwood and the emergency services?
Yeah. So obviously they like recognising all the different agencies. Obviously we've had, as a community, we've had a really challenging couple of years and we rely on the emergency services in a lot of instances to get us through. So just good acknowledgement for those guys being involved in the game today and later on in the year. I think these two sides will play in an emergency services round, just highlighting the importance that the role they play in the community.
Of course, the Hawks have been such a key part of the Blue Ribbon round, as well as Kruger's on the end of it here again, inside the forward 50 for Collingwood.
Judging by his last kick, there's no problems with the distance here, Joel.
This would be a little 9-iron.
Going back very confidently, sizing it up.
He's a big lump of a lad, Nathan Kruger. Didn't get a hell of a lot of opportunities down at the Cattery a couple of seasons there. 3 seasons at Geelong. Traded for a 3rd round pick in the off-season. He absolutely lays into that one. And that's another beautiful kick from Kruger. He might be emerging as a bit of a cult figure for Collingwood.
Looks a likely type. Up forward, presents to the ball really, really well. Got that beautiful left foot. Good size. Be a handful for any defender trying to play on him. Might be a little diamond in the rough for the Pies this year. All alone too, inside 50. Just went back very confidently, knew what he was doing.
A very, very nice find indeed. And Collingwood now with another 5 goals here in this term. They've again come in a row, so they've got a run of 7 and a run of 5 here in this game.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of a challenge for Hawthorn. Obviously, such a big momentum game, AFL, the modern AFL game, where a side might kick 2 or 3 and wrestle the momentum back. But, you know, it's up to the players on the ground to recognise that and put some things in place just to stem the flow a little bit. So a little bit to learn, a lot to learn for Sam Mitchell's side here out of this one, just in terms of stemming that flow and not letting sides kick bags of goals against you in quick time.
Plenty of Collingwood fans be pretty pleased with what they're seeing. They look at as well. Nick Dacos involved at half-back. Noble kicks up the line. Mychek was so good early in the piece. And it's run across the boundary line. Sicily there to help it over. You can see Ash Johnson just on the boundary there, spitting the footy in his hands, waiting for his go in the second half. Imagine that they'd go. Would you, if you're one of the coaches, would you have almost an all-new team out there in the second half?
Yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, to play 6 30-minute quarters when you've still got the what do we call it these days?
Community series.
The Amy, is it back to Amy Community Series? I think it is these days. So next week. So yeah, a lot of these players would have played a couple of internal trials, but given the opportunity to play 6 terms and use your whole list, I think probably, yeah, they'll look to play 3 quarters with one side and then flip it over.
Your commercial knowledge was spot on, by the way, Steve. Here's Ginnivan, kicks to full forward. Mychek takes the mark. And Brodie Mychek will look for another here for Collingwood.
Getting it in and deep and fast. You'd be loving this from a Brodie Mychek or a Kruger or Jamie Elliott, just getting looks one-on-one inside 50. Such dangerous players anyway. They only need half a sniff, but they're getting really good looks out the back of the Hawthorn defence, and he curls that one through, Brodie. So is that 2 or 3 for Brodie now? He's got a couple in this term. Yeah,
that's 2 for Mychek. And that is 13 for Collingwood overall. And the margin is out to 10 goals.
Just some of the guys involved, side bottom, Dacos hitting targets, blokes out in space, and then running back to goal. Just really hard to defend. Hawthorn looking to push up, control the ground behind the footy, but you can't really defend that when it's coming in so quick and so easy. Just sort of falling down across half forward Hawthorn at the moment, and when you've got the likes of Crisp and Maynard and Pendlebury streaming off half back, you look up as a defender, it's the absolute worst nightmare.
Pretty scary proposition for an opposing side. So 6 goals in a row here to Collingwood after they kicked 7 goals in a row to start. This has been a very impressive start. Even the Collingwood social media account is onto it, tweeting vid check, as in, is it still on?
Oh, wow.
Very cheeky
Wow.
in the early part of the season.
Someone's getting a bit carried away in the
Juggling
social
mark.
media team down at Collingwood.
Pulled in by McAvoy right on the halftime siren. And so Ben McAvoy can line up and have a shot. Mason Cox gets the mark standing duties once more. And the skipper can have a go and try and pull one back for his side after the siren has sounded.
Having a bit of laugh with the umpire, I think. Are they for the sun or are they for something else, Mason? I think he asked him there.
So McAvoy launches into it, stands, admires, and he'll be pretty happy with his work. He gets a couple of pats on the head from teammate and a nice bit of reward to end the term for Hawthorn. So the bookend goals in the second term for the Hawks, but in between it was all Collingwood. After 7 unanswered goals in the first term, the Pies banged on 6 in a row in the second. And Hawthorn with a couple of their own. The margin at half-time or after 2 periods in Morwell is 54 points. The Pies 13-2 to 3-8. Joel Peterson and Steve Gillam with you. Steve, again, it was Hawthorn, as we spoke about, did a better job, especially through the middle part of that period, to bottle Collingwood up a little bit. But for the most part, the Pies were still able to keep their freewheeling ways.
Yeah, they did. They sort of wrestled the momentum back off the back of their more experienced players down back, distributing the ball, cutting Hawthorn up through the middle part and the end of that quarter. The Hawks were able to get one back very, very late through McAvoy, but the damage was done, and it's coming in bursts as well. And I guess that's the challenge for Hawthorn and some of the younger sides, even Collingwood, as we mentioned earlier, both pretty sort of similar list profiles in terms of their age and experience. But it was the more experienced Collingwood players that got on top and were able to create really good entries forward of the ball. Kruger got on the end of it a couple of times. Jamie Elliott's creating big headaches in that Collingwood forward line, and the likes of Adams and Dacos through the middle just really using the ball really, really well has been the difference in creating really good opportunities for the Collingwood forwards, and they've making the most of it, kicking 13 goals too. So they've had 15 shots. Up the other end, Hawthorn have had 11 shots but kicked 3-8, so they've been a little bit inaccurate. And the challenge with Hawthorn, with such a young list, is you might be able to play AFL level for half a quarter, half a game, but it's keeping that up consistently quarter after quarter after quarter, game after game after game, which is their challenge with such a young squad at the moment. Obviously, Collingwood don't have a lot of injuries at the moment. There's some, probably a handful of first-picked Hawthorn players that aren't playing out there today that would make a big difference. But there'll be, after the first couple of terms, there'll be some changes made, some moves around, and a good opportunity for both sides to learn a bit about their systems and structures against a different opposition instead of playing against yourself, but also learn some about their depth on their lists as well, and what they've got in terms of their young stocks on their lists.
Absolutely. So you can see that the Pies huddled up, and the Hawks too. Plenty of the players going through their warm-ups. So a lot of the Box Hill and the Collingwood VFL players named in the squad of 46 for Collingwood and 45 for Hawthorn, who might be getting set to crack in. 5 goals to Jamie Elliott at half-time, 2 to Myercheck for the Pies, a goal to Lipinski, to Kruger, to Ginnivan and to Cox for Hawthorn. There's Dylan Moore kicked the first goal of the game. The second goal right on the first minute of the second term to Ned Reeves, and then Ben McAvoy after the half-time siren. But scoring-wise, it was a tale of behinds and what could have been for the Hawks in that term. They kicked 2 goals, 5. Collingwood kicking 6 more goals. And they go into the half with a 54-point lead at Morwell Recreation Reserve. We'll step away on KO Sports and bring you the second half and the remainder of this game very shortly. For Collingwood, coming out after it is Hoskin Elliott. Such an important player is that link-up player for the Pies. Inside the 50, and Myercheck rises and marks.
Right hand of the screen, so just picked it up a lot better, Brody Myercheck.
Hooks it around the body. Has it done enough work? Oh, it has. That's a great finish. Hooking it back from right time and darts it up the line. Myercheck pulls it in. Collingwood are away. Hoskin Elliott will go through the 50 to Pendlebury, who normally sizes things up pretty well. Elects to dish it off. Ginnivan goes one more. Kruger into the open goal. Tumbles it through.
Give the new player
setting up another attacking opportunity on the lead. A great mark taken again. Elliott's in it once more.
the champion data stats, but you'd think that their pressure level is through the roof at the moment, the Pies.
We know he can be a match winner, Jamie Elliott, and he's got 4 in the first half here at Morwell. Forward 50. Maynard juggles it, not paid. Dean got boot to ball inside the back 50 for Collingwood. Moore tried to ride the tackle, got caught holding the ball.
Plug the gap.
Good presentation from Kruger on the outer side. The lefty kicks inside the forward 50. Numbers out the back here for Collingwood. Elliott to himself, runs into goal and kicks his 5th. Oh, Jamie Elliott on fire at Morwell. He's got 5.
Round just highlighting the importance that the role they play in the community.
Of course, the Hawks have been such a key part of the Blue Ribbon round as well, as Kruger's on the end of it here again. 3 seasons at Geelong. Traded for a 3rd round pick in the off-season. He absolutely lays into that one. And that's another beautiful kick from Kruger. He might be emerging as a bit of a cult figure. Mid-check. Is it still on?
Oh, wow.
That's very cheeky in the early part of the season.
Someone's getting a bit carried away in the social media team down at Collingwood.
Pulled in by McAvoy right on the half-time siren. Collingwood coming out after it is Hoskin Elliott. Such an important player is that link-up player for the Pies. Inside the 50, and Myercheck rises and marks.
Right hand of the screen, so just picked it up a lot better, Brody Myercheck.
Hooks it around the body. Has it done enough work? Oh, it has. That's a great... So half-time at Morwell Recreation Reserve. Plenty to celebrate if you're a Collingwood fan in that opening half. 13-80, the Pies lead the Hawks 3-8-26. Joel Peterson and Premiership Hawks Steve Gillam with you on KO Sports. Great to have your company on this Friday afternoon as the practice matches continue before the 2022 AFL season, only a couple of weeks away. And of course the Community Series between now and round 1 as all the teams continue their build-up toward this 2022 season.
Earlier today, I think we had Brisbane getting over Adelaide pretty comfortably, albeit Adelaide were impacted with, I think, 16 players having to isolate for COVID. Hopefully that's not something that is a regular occurrence through this season, and we can get through as scheduled.
Getting a look at Max Lynch in the ruck, the former Pie for the Hawks, and it's just normal service resumed for the Pies as it goes straight inside the 50, and Bianco's on the end of it. 35 out, 45-degree angle, and it's just brilliant clearance work from Collingwood at the moment.
Jack Scrimshaw, hands on head. Not much you can do there when it comes out so easily. Max Lynch against the old side. Maybe got a little bit mixed up. Taylor might have been calling for it, I reckon. He put it straight down his throat.
So Adams looking for yet another goal assist. Can Bianco finish off the work? Starts at left. A little bit too far left. Might not have the carry. It's taken right on the line by Hoskin Elliott, who's absolutely cannoned that into the goalpost.
Hardwick back on for the Hawks. Didn't feature in those first couple of terms, taking the kick-out duties. They'll be rapt to have him back, distributing the ball out of the back line, as with this man, James Sicily.
Hardwick's such an important player for Hawthorn, just so reliable. That big mark taken on the outer side for the Hawks. That was Lynch. Turns it over to Hawthorn. All up toward half forward for the Pies. Darting kick inside forward 50. Cox sprawls forward and takes the mark. with the prescription glasses on this afternoon, or the goggles, whichever way you want to go with it. Mason's got another opportunity in front of goal.
He's found himself in really good spots, taking a couple of great marks. He's already kicked a goal. So maybe doing the trick, the goggles. As foreigners and funny as they look, we're just saying, hopefully it doesn't get too dark. It looks like they've got the tinged lenses on today for the day game down in Morwell, but hopefully the big fella can put this through.
From just inside the 50, he struck it reasonably well. He struck it very well indeed. Taylor Adams reaches up and gives the big fella a pat on the head. Mason Cox with his seconds, and Collingwood have got 14 in the first of the second half.
Just really hard to defend. The defenders would have been caught offside. Max Lynch took a great contested mark on the wing, but then turned it straight back over, and everyone's caught offside. And as all good forwards are, just ready, sniffing an opportunity to run back inside 50 and get on the end of it, and he was good enough to finish it off. And it's been a little bit of the difference as well in the game, just the quality of finishing all over the field from Collingwood, their foot skills, and then especially in front of goal, just getting really good looks. You want to be kicking goals, from anywhere between 0 to 45 metres out on that 45-degree angle, and they've been delivered really well so far by the Collingwood players.
So, Wise take it out of the middle again. He's Ward at half-back. What does he bring to the table from a Hawks perspective, Steve?
I think he's really mature for his age. Unfortunately, he turns that one over in the middle of the ground, but from all reports, got a really, really good training history, can run all day, really disciplined. So you tend to find that a lot of the young kids that come into the system are really good with ball in hand playing offence, but they need to learn the defensive mechanisms of the game at AFL level. But he's picked that up really, really well. And been a feature in most of the sessions, and really neat left foot as Big Mason rolls that one through for another one.
So Mason with his third, and now Collingwood just keep skipping away. They've got 15 on the board, the Pies.
You're loving this as a Pies supporter. Plenty to celebrate. 15 on the board. Got plenty of time left in this practice match. They just look so dangerous, just attacking with a big key forward up there, just a huge presence. He did really, really well. He turned around, showed great ball handling skills and agility to turn around and pop that one through. So goggles are here to stay. They're working their magic at the moment. Maybe we might see them pop up with some other players jumping on board. Who knows?
Might be the way to go. 3 goals on debut for Mason Cox, the bespectacled version. No, he's got the go-go gadget arms, but he's added another gadget to the arsenal.
Lid might be off soon, Joel. What do you think?
Well, if the Collingwood Twitter account was onto it, you just got to keep things in perspective as a fan, I guess. But it'd be hard to just remain your composure with the way things are going at the moment. Scrimshaw through the middle, handball to Moore. The pressure's been outstanding from the Pies. Adams is in there to try and disrupt things. Ward with a couple of touches. Sicily's caught, almost run down by McCreery, who's just an absolute battering ram. And now Noble has a go. He picks Scrimshaw off and surely wins a free kick. John Noble just ramming home the advantage for Collingwood.
Got some pretty special wheels on him, John, today.
Yellow and white numbers, goes inside the forward 50, and a mark to Myercheck.
Just take your pick, line up if you're in the Collingwood forward line at the moment. They are all over Hawthorn when they get the ball, and when they go forward, they're just long and direct and playing pretty simple, basic footy, really, at the moment. But Collingwood forwards just in the right positions, reading the ball, first to it. Another really good look, 20 metres out, straight in front.
It's been all the Magpies in Morwell, and it continues with another to Myercheck. His third of the game, and Collingwood are out by 73 points.
It's again off half-back that Collingwood's pressure's so good, just forcing the Hawks players to overuse the footy, and one too many, and unfortunately it was Jack Scrimshaw that got caught, but then just straight down. It could have been either one of Cox, Myercheck or Elliott that could have raffled that, to be honest.
Country footy, you see the people getting around with the raffle. I reckon Collingwood have got a few winning tickets.
They've got all the winners at the moment.
They're going to take home 3 meat trays.
Just an absolute feast. Seagulls on a hot chip, just like we saw Hawker earlier in the coverage.
Hawthorn spectators' cranium, I think that was.
Yeah, the way the Pies are feeding their forwards, they're not going to go hungry, whereas up the other end, the poor old Hawks forwards are getting a little bit cold inside 50 as Collingwood go forward again.
This time through Tyler Brown. His kick wobbles its way to half forward where it's pretty easily picked off. Hawks try and reload and just manufacture the ball. O'Meara, he's got it on the wing. Hemmed in by Noble. Has to go backward. Hardwick. Runner up in the best and fairest last season, been such a consistent contributor. Kick smothered, dribbles away into the centre of the ground. Ramble flares it across to Hartigan, the former Crow. McCreary bears down on him. Kicks up the line. Nick Dacos read it well, just got his kick away under some pressure. Morrison's there for the Hawks. Hambleton Newcomb, who was so good in the opening term, had an absolute plethora of the ball. Out of Nash, and Newcomb provides some overlap run. The kick was just a little bit overcooked. Kajitsky will try and make it work in the forward pocket, hard up against the boundary line. He sprayed it out to the right-hand side, out of bounds on the full.
A couple of really good players for Hawthorn through the first part of this game have been John Newcomb and Lockie Bramble. New additions to the side halfway through last year, but it looks like they've kicked on and looking really comfortable at the level and gelling with their roles within this team really, really well. A couple of really good highlights so far for the Hawks.
Side bottom at half back for Collingwood. Of him to return to some of his best this season. Warple off hands. There is Bramble again. Shields along the boundary line for the Hawks into the action. Kicks up the line. Should be a free kick to Gunston there, who was dragged off it. Won't quite be paid, and then the flying shot at goal has somehow found its way through. That's a terrific goal from Warple, who got out the back, threw it on the boot, and he's been able to find the answer for Hawthorn.
Originally, I thought, what are you doing, taking the advantage from there? He's under pressure on the boundary, and I think it would have been a free kick to Gunno for the holding there, but Warps straight onto it, threw it on the boot. Outstanding goal.
That's a hell of a finish on the run from James Warple.
This might be the spark the Hawks needed. They needed something special just to get them going. In terms of something on the scoreboard, just a bit of reward for effort. They've dialed up their pressure a little bit on the Pies, and I think that's probably, as a Hawthorn supporter or fan or member, you just want to see the boys put on that pressure and have that effort. Fair enough if the opposition in Collingwood are too good, but I think they can just dial up their pressure, make it a little bit harder for the Pies going forward.
Lynch and Cox in ruck. Lynch rose over Cox and then got a toe poke there. Josh Dacos has a go. Gunston's up sliding among the traffic. Cox hacks it forward for the Pies. Oh, nice little step for Blake Hardwick to create some separation. Measured the pass out wide, and the Hawks have turned it over once more. Maynard with it for the Pies. He's going to come on the 45 into the corridor for Cox. Oh, Mason's hand pass didn't quite find its target. He went looking for Nick Dacos, and there were Hawks everywhere ready to swoop. Gunston's hand pass missed Ward. Sicily's up from half-back, got his head ripped off by Kruger, and then a little bit of afters from Josh Dacos. And so Sicily will take the free kick, all uncharacteristic, turned it over in the middle of the ground. Tyler Brown dropped the mark. It was forced forward, though. Eventually picked it up, kicked it inside the 50. Elliott's got 5 already, been super dangerous. Pretty keen to see it over and out of play there.
Just press the dump button on the last 30 seconds there, I reckon, for both sides. It started off with Mason Cox and ended up in the opposite forward pocket after a very scrappy bit of play. Just that's, the skills not being at the level quite yet. A little bit of fatigue creeping in, and early in the season, that's what you get sometimes.
You see these periods in these practice games, don't you, where there's just a really noticeable lull across proceedings, normally in the third quarter. The end isn't quite in sight, but the fatigue is starting to amass. It was noticeable in the Carlton St Kilda game the other day, and it will be throughout a lot of them.
Yeah, the lactic acid isn't nice in the legs. The heart and lungs are burning as well. At this point, you're just sort of not quite at your fittest in terms of match practice. And it gets dialed up a level, and it's exactly why you have practice games.
Opportunity maybe for Begg at half-back there a moment ago
Free
for the
kick.
Magpies. There is going to be a free kick here to Ginnivan.
Didn't see what that was for against Granger Barras, maybe just sort of holding on. Again, comes in very quickly from the Pies, really strong and direct, putting the Hawthorn defenders under pressure, giving away the free kick, and he looks like he's going around the body and puts it through.
Doing it nicely is Jack Ginnivan. So he's got another for his accounts, and the Pies can raise the bat because they've cracked the ton here at Morwell.
Tell you what, it's been a really entertaining game to watch. Both sides are trying to move the ball pretty quick and long and direct and get it into their forwards. With that wind at their back, the Pies just happy to attack the square, let the tall players go to work, and Kruger and Myercheck and Cox when he's been down there. And then when it hits the deck, they're just as dangerous with Ginnivan and Elliott running onto it. It looks super dangerous, the Pies at the moment.
So back in the middle, back to that 73-point lead. Steve Gillen, the Premiership Hawk, with you alongside myself, Joel Peterson on KO Sports. A Collingwood fan, it's going to be a pretty nice start to your weekend, I'd imagine. Grundy takes it away from the middle of the ground. The Dacos boys thought about linking up perhaps, and maybe they will now, because Josh hands it off to Nick, and Nick Dacos shows his class. Oh, that's what Pies fans have wanted to see for so long. And they come to him from everywhere. And a little bit of a celebration after as well.
What was that?
That looked like the Globo Gym Purple Cobras.
Yeah.
Bit of dodgeball.
Love that. Oh, that was outstanding passage of play. The older brother giving it to his younger brother for his first goal in, well, not quite AFL footy, but his career anyway. And wearing the 35 on his back, he knew it was going straight through as soon as he kicked it. Little salute. Wraps up his brother. Everyone gets to him.
We're going to see the Globo Gym here right at the end with, I think it's Crisp who runs in. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, just at the end there. Just a little celebration. First of many, hopefully, for him and his career, and in the black and white. Great to see.
Absolutely.
Such a great feature of our game, the father-son rule, and paying dividends for the Pies right now as they go again.
And it is Josh this time who hands off to Maynard at half-back. Try and launch another attacking foray here, Collingwood. Wobbly kick inside the arc, and that's going to be mopped up across half-back. Morrison there, who's got the ball in hand. Tries to launch it to the outer side for Hawthorn. Margin 79 points the way of the Pies. And Guinness bumps off the tackle. Handball to Reeves. A chance here for Hardwick. Free kick's going to come back to the Hawks because Morrison got bumped after he got rid of the handball. In fact, now it's going to go to Hardwick. So the Hawks trying to launch back to the town end here at Morwell Recreation Reserve. Hardwick kicks it to left half forward. That won't stay in. It'll go out in front of Lewis.
Yeah, that's the difference. Hawthorn going forward, it sort of dribbles out across the arc, whereas Pies are just so much cleaner, so much more direct, getting it in deep, forcing the Hawks defenders under pressure, whereas at the moment, Collingwood just getting it on their terms.
Here's McDonald. We've liked his work. Connor McDonald kicks to full forward. Kajitsky in the pack, but the Pies again able to mop up through Moore and Noble. Kick right along the boundary line. Henry just pulled it in. Another of those young, promising Pies.
Elliott preparing to come back on. He's had his spell. Spells danger for the Hawks.
5 goals for Jamie Elliott in that opening term. 3 in the first, 2 in the second. Henry launches at the footy and takes a good mark. You know what a talent he is. 17th pick in the draft last year. Goes short to Lipinski. The Pies have built the ball up well. We talked right from the outset about the fact that they're going backward a hell of a lot less this season. Would have been the exact example here. They would have chipped it around the Cape to come back the other way, but it's a lot more direct.
Yeah, well, it's having a licence and the game style that is backing your players in and their skills to be able to hit targets, but also for the players up the field creating good options for their teammates ahead of the footy.
Henry involved again, squaring kick. Grundy knocked it down, and then Henry got a high tackle from Mitchell, who was in secondary to that of Hardwick.
That was just a welcome to the big league.
So Ollie Henry, 10 games last season in his rookie campaign. Pulls out the pitching wedge and tees it up to full forward. Big run at that. Ginnivan tumbles it toward goal. Dragged down off the footy was Kruger. No free kick. Frost bursts away for the Hawks. Measures the pass nicely to Warple. He turns to go. He's got plenty of speed to burn too, James Warple. Oh, the Warpedo just rams it forward. Lewis is on the end of it, and that's probably the best passage of play from the Hawks all day.
Just very simple, wasn't it? It could have almost been a free kick in the goal square at the other end, but Frost gets it, puts the head down, hits a target. Warple takes the opposition on, and that's what you love as a forward. Just quick, direct footy. You are out the back in a flash. Nothing the Pies defenders could do, and Mitch Lewis strolls into an open goal and kicks truly.
So Lewis had an interrupted, a very strange season last year after the boxing accident. Played the 14 games in the end and kicked the 22 goals, but he's athletic for days, he's springy, he's long. If he can string it all together, he could be a pretty imposing figure.
Yeah, had a huge pre-season, Mitch. He's been in the gym ever since the season finished. He's lighting up the track. He's really, really hungry. You can probably see his opportunity there. He wants to grab it with both hands. He's been doing that on the track. He just needs to translate that into the games now. He's kicked a lot of goals in the intra-clubs, matches that the Hawks have played the last couple of weeks. And I think the game style that Sam will want to play, that more attacking, go-forward style, will suit the forwards and especially Mitch this year.
So the Hawks come forward again. The football hitting it solidly, not being able to really do a lot with it. And Tyler Brown's taken the mark at half-back. After Gunston thrown down in the tackle. Maynard out wide. Have used it well. The left boot of Pendlebury sends the Pies to half forward.
Commentator's curse, man.
Yep, cutting it off to Sicily every time. Every time.
Never fails.
Joel Peterson and Steve Gillam with you on KO Sports on your Friday evening. Nice way to end the week for Pies and Hawks fans and footy fans in general before a big weekend of practice matches and AFLW rolling into round 8 as well. Big year for the Hawks, of course, the AFLW side coming in or potentially later in the year with this season maybe starting in September.
Yeah, the Hawks are really excited to finally have the licence and signed their first player at the end of last week. So everyone at the club's really excited about that, and Beck Goddard and her team putting the list together. So really exciting times for female footballers that follow the brown and gold, that they'll have their own team as early as potentially September this year.
Look at the link up here from Hawthorn. Mitchell forward to Warple, tumbles it inside the 50. Kick left a little bit to be desired. And the Hawks will be able to, the Pies will be able to send it back the other way. Tumbling ball outside the defensive 50. Nathan Murphy slammed it out toward the wing. It'll be thrown back in. If Pies fans down at Morwell.
Pies fans everywhere, aren't they?
Yes.
Wherever you play, there's always a black and white army turnout in force. It's fantastic.
Won't get away from them. McGuinness at the stoppage. Amble sharked by Josh Dacos to Nick. Bianco's got it on the wing. A little bit of overlap run from Elliott, who's back on the grounds. Handball inboard to Josh Dacos, who sends it to full forward. Oh, big rise there from Cameron. Couldn't take the mark. Brambles bursting away and with a bounce for the Hawks. Goes straight up the corridor. Half volley mark not paid to Gunston, who's immediately tackled by 3 Collingwood players. Not much room to move for Jack Gunston.
All over them, the Pies. It's great to see Lockie Bramble getting his hands on the footy so much. Great leg speed, usually uses the ball really well and sets up scoring chains for the Hawks. Been really good in these first 3 quarters.
Another opportunity across half forward for the Pies. Scrimshaw and Sicily are going to be a pretty solid defensive unit going forward, you'd imagine. Hardwick in there to combine with them as well. Gunston with a chance, rumbles it forward. Mitchell, handball out wide to Warple. Hooks it to full forward. Lewis is up, can't take the mark. Crummer's there for the Hawks. Dylan Moore has a go. Dean got enough of him to worry him out of it. Now in the back 50 is Ginnivan, unfamiliar territory for him. Nick Dacos to Moore. Darcy Moore steadies the ship by foot to Noble, and now to Josh Dacos. He sends it outside the defensive 50. Warple did enough. Good defensive pressure from the Hawks.
Geez, he's had a big quarter. James Warple for the Hawks, getting, kicking goals, setting it up, and also putting the defensive pressure on there. He's really stepped up, leading the way. Really good to see. If you're a Hawks supporter, that sort of effort.
Fox and Lynch. Lynch wins it down to Ward, to McDonald. A couple of the youngsters for the Hawks combined to send it to full forward. Off the ground, having a go and being able to sneak it home. That's a nice finish from Seamus Mitchell. A little bit of pace on the footy for the Hawks, and they sneak one through their 6th of the game.
Just feel that the last couple of minutes they've really dug in with their pressure, getting it forward, creating opportunities for their forwards to get a look, and just something out of nothing. Right place, right time, read it off hands, off the deck, like small forwards can do. So crafty, so skillful. Those sort of opportunities and making the most of them. Just feel that they've wrestled the momentum back a little bit. Couple of little errors by Collingwood coming out of the back line, whether by hand or foot, just giving Hawthorn looks they've been able to take finally after wasting a few opportunities in that second term. Still got a fair way to go though to claw back that lead.
Fox in the middle of the grounds. Free kick given away off the footy. Lynch will take it. The former Pie. The Hawks. Handball to Mitchell, who's been really getting involved, sending Hawthorn forward. More across to spoil for the Pies. Josh Dacos has had a busy turn. Noble drives it off half-back Elliott. Well, if he's not doing it inside the 50, he's up on the wing and presenting strongly.
Looks really good, doesn't he? Looks really fit. Some really good touch. Confidence is high.
He's doing his best. He looks springy and really, really lively, and he's certainly been that so far. Nice deft little pass from Grundy there, the touch pass into the path of Lipinski. It's beyond his range, even with a bit of assistance from the breeze. Kick not what he desired by any stretch.
It's the fatigue a little bit now. Creep into the players' legs. Playing 30-minute quarters for the first time for the year against a decent opposition. Might see the game slow down a little bit in the next 3 quarters.
Ball forced toward the boundary line and go out. Dylan Moore be happy to see it across.
Some of the Hawks faithful there. Just see some brown and gold in the represented in the stands. Just great to have crowds back at the footy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Joel, great to see the prospect of round 1 with 100% capacity. Just going to be an amazing atmosphere, you'd think, at that first game at the MCG for the grand final rematch.
Footy back in the regions as well. It's been limited to mainly the main venues over the last 18 or so months. Really, probably 24 months now. It's gone on that long, everything that we've been dealing with through the COVID pandemic. Moore read it nicely off hands for Hawthorn. Kicks inside the 50. And Lewis has it. Wants to find an option to go to. Kicks to the pocket. Gunston floats down. Shields, in fact, it is who takes the mark. Back with the flight of the footy, read it nicely.
Great kick by Mitch Lewis, just put it to Liam's advantage. You can see him running towards goal. Just couldn't quite get the journey himself, so he played on. Found a teammate closer to goal. Hopefully Pup can go back and nail this goal late stages in term 3.
Such a dependable player for so many seasons, and Liam Shields has no problems with that. As you'd imagine, he makes it count, and the Hawks have 6 on the board.
Yeah, it's been a good sort of period of 5 minutes for the Hawks. They've kicked a couple of goals. They've looked like they've been dangerous going forward of the footy. Lewis is getting his hands on it. Lynch is up there. Cozzy, so they're fairly tall. Connor Nash is down there as well. And Dylan Moore mopping up everything on the ground as well.
The Collingwood hierarchy, watch on. So Jordan Roughhead, one of the injured pies at the front of the grandstand there.
Bit of a Hawthorn flavour with Craig McRae and Brendan Bolton and Graham Wright. Know the Hawks really well.
Done a good job of exploiting some of that knowledge early in the game today. Cox out of the middle, Lipinski. Handball forward, now Nick Josh Dacos. Low inside the arc. Adams did well to make something of it. Dacos will get back around on the left boot. Sends it to full forward. Myercheck pulls it in. Did he play on? Yes, umpire said he did. He went, he stopped. He tried to throw it on the boot. Eventually he almost fell over as he was among it all and got caught.
I reckon he thought there was a chance that the umpire might have called it touch, so he just wanted to play on and make sure. But then when the umpire blew his whistle, he wanted to stop.
He was in, well, I'm not sure he was in 2, might have been in 3 minds there potentially, Brody Myercheck. He was a little bit unfortunate at the top of the goal square. The Hawks able to scramble it clear. Yeah, first, I mean,
he claimed it.
Yeah, and then he's hit his knee. So he might not have the right to be able to claim he thought it was touched, because if you go up and claim the mark, I think you forfeit the...
Yeah, well, he convinced the umpire. He didn't convince himself.
You got priority number 1 before priority number 2. He's been pretty prolific inside the forward 50 so far for the Pies, with a few goals as Myercheck. The stoppage. Henry works his way through for Collingwood. Warple been great in this 3rd term. A goal earlier in the piece. A dangerous moment for Scrimshaw. Handball toward Morrison, who can't keep it in.
Just the pressure. They're just maintaining that pressure, with hunting the Hawks ball carrier. 1, 2, 3 handballs, and ultimately lock it inside their forward 50, get another stoppage, get another look.
Bruce up the back of the grandstand there, chatting to Chris Newman. The injured Hawks are out there today for Hawthorn. Henry has a go off the ground, it was almost like a cross, trying to hook it back toward the 18-yard box. As the siren sounds for the end of the 3rd period here at Morwell Recreation Reserve, and Collingwood have been dominant this game. Another enterprising term, although better from the Hawks, able to hit the scoreboard, create some more opportunities, and at least offensively speaking, Steve Gillam, they a little bit better that term, Hawthorn.
They're just having to work super hard for their opportunities, and a couple of times they made something out of nothing. Warple kicked one from the boundary. It was a pretty miraculous goal that he jammed on his boot from a Junk Gunston free kick inside 50, and then Seamus Mitchell was a nice bit of forward craft to get off hands and kick one through, and Mitch Lewis set up Liam Shields there late in the term, so they were able to claw something back and get some reward for effort going forward, and kick truly. They've missed a few shots they should have got, but conversely, Collingwood have just been able to maintain the rage both with the ball and without it, hunting Hawthorn, forcing them to retreat and make mistakes and capitalising. Myercheck's been in everything, Jamie Elliott the same. The Dacos boys probably with a highlight in that quarter. Josh feeding Nick for the goal. It was great to see. And if you're a Pies supporter, you're sitting pretty happy after 3 periods with what you've seen from your side. As I said, both with their pressure, which is elite, right across the ground, and then giving their forwards a really good opportunity. And a return of 18 goals through 3 periods of footy with the flat 30 minutes is a really good return and a good reflection for how they've played so far in this game.
Absolutely. So another 5 goals in that period there for Collingwood. And I had another 4 for Hawthorn, so some more scoring opportunities there. What did you think the Hawks did better there in the 3rd period?
Oh, ball in hand, they were just able to hit some targets coming out of the back line. Lockie Bramble was fantastic. Harry Morrison was getting his hands on the footy. Jai Newcomb as well, driving it forward. So not only were they able to sort of stem the bleeding from a Collingwood perspective, they were a little bit cleaner going through the arc and ultimately inside 50 and kicking truly. So you can see that they want to play on, they want to play quick, they want to get it into their tall, dangerous forwards. They were going with a pretty tall forward line there at times. Dylan Moore's been lively. So thought Josh Ward's getting involved, and he, will learn so much out of this experience. They also brought on Blake Hardwick and Liam Shields that added a little bit. Liam hit the scoreboard. Blake Hardwick set some things up from defence. You just love to have the ball in his hands as a Hawk fan. You know that usually 9 times out of 10 it's going to find a target. So he was able to set them up offensively and probably show a little bit of leadership behind the ball as well. Frosty, that bit of play where they were able to turn the ball over and basically just go direct with 3 kicks. Frost to I think it was Warple to Lewis. It was a really, really good bit of play and probably the blueprint for Sam about how he wants to play. They just haven't, Collingwood just simply haven't allowed them to play like that often enough. And then mix in a bit of fatigue from both sides later in that quarter. It probably opens up a little bit and gives Hawthorn a bit of a sniff going forward the other way.
So plenty of new faces in this 4th period. You can see lots of them out there warming up at the moment. It's a big lead for Collingwood at Morwell Recreation Reserve. Still plenty more football to come. Stay with us here on KO Sports. It is a very strange sight, though. It is unusual, but whatever you need, Mason, that's what's going to make it work. Here's Dacos, Nick Dacos, a little handball through the traffic to Myercheck, finds Ginnivan, who rises and marks.
Of Hawthorn's defence.
So Ginnivan kicked 3 against the Pies last year when they met late in the season, and he's got one early here at Morwell, and Collingwood in front through 10 minutes of the ruck. Won it down. Flicks the handball from Lipinski, and then smashes it forward. The breeze certainly favouring that end of the ground at the freeway end, and Sicily's it's going to be a free kick going to James Sicily in the end for the Hawks. Drives a low kick outside the defensive 50. Mitchell read it so beautifully off the hands. Handball to Mick.
Pre-season drafts and then the mid-season obviously as well.
Oh, great pressure from Ginnivan. Has he won a free kick for the Pies there? He has in the forward pocket.
He's looking to give it up, but I don't think he's that keen, is he?
So Ginnivan on the left boot to the freeway end, has no trouble with that. And Collingwood have got 4 in the opening.
What is it? Their prime movers are up and moving.
Lipinski's up and moving at the stoppage. Take it with him. Elliott's there again. Here is Lipinski. First game for Collingwood, at least in an unofficial capacity, and his first goal in the black and white. Aside for the Pies, and now Cox is involved. Those spectacles are going to be some kind of sight here in this new season. He launches it inside the 50, and again Elliott's up, having kicked. After being tormented by injuries for so long, we know what a talent he is when he can get out there. From just inside the 50 to provide the perfect end to the first quarter for Collingwood. 6 in a row for the Pies. In term in that Hawthorn defensive unit. Gunston wheels away and fires the Hawks inside the 50. And a big mark pulled in by Ned Reeves at full forward. For Collingwood, coming out after it is Hoskin Elliott. Such an important player as that link-up player for the Pies. Inside the 50, and Myercheck rises and marks.
Right hand of the screen, so just picked it up a lot better, Brody Myercheck.
Hooks it around the body. Has it done enough work? Oh, it has. That's a great finish. Hooking it back from right time and darts it up the line. Myercheck pulls it in. Collingwood are away. Hoskin Elliott will go through the 50 to Pendlebury, who normally sizes things up pretty well. Elects to dish it off. Ginnivan goes one more. Kruger into the open goal. Tumbles it through.
Give the new player
setting up another attacking opportunity on the lead. A great mark taken again. Elliott's in it once more.
the champion data stats, but you'd think that their pressure level is through the roof at the moment, the Pies.
We know he can be a match winner, Jamie Elliott, and he's got 4 in the first half here at Morwell. Forward 50. Maynard juggles it, not paid. Dean got boot to ball inside the back 50 for Collingwood. Moore tried to ride the tackle, got caught holding the ball.
Plug the gap.
Good presentation from Kruger on the outer side. The lefty kicks inside the forward 50. Numbers out the back here for Collingwood. Elliott to himself, runs into goal and kicks his 5th. Oh, Jamie Elliott on fire at Morwell. He's got 5.
Round just highlighting the importance that the role they play in the community.
Of course, the Hawks have been such a key part of the Blue Ribbon round, as well as Kruger's on the end of it here again. 3 seasons at Geelong. Traded for a 3rd round pick in the off-season. He absolutely lays into that one. And that's another beautiful kick from Kruger. He might be emerging as a bit of a cult fit. Was Lynch. Turns it over to Hawthorn. All up toward half forward for the Pies. Darting kick inside forward 50. Cox sprawls forward and takes the mark.
Down in Morwell, but hopefully the big fella can put this through.
From just inside the 50, he struck it reasonably well. He struck it very well indeed. Taylor Adams run down by McCreary, who's just an absolute battering ram. And now Noble has a go. He picks Scrimshaw off and surely wins a free kick.
John today.
The yellow and white numbers goes inside the forward 50 and a mark to Myercheck.
Just take your pick.
There is Bramble again. Shields along the boundary line for the Hawks into the action. Kicks up the line. Should be a free kick to Gunston there, who was dragged off it. Won't quite be paid, and then the flying shot at goal has somehow found its way through. That's a terrific goal from Warple.
Looks like he's going around the body and puts it through.
Doing it nicely is Jack Ginnivan. So he's got another for his accounts, and the Pies can raise the bat because they've cracked the ton here at Morwell. Pretty nice start to your weekend, I'd imagine. Grundy takes it away from the middle of the ground. The Dacos boys thought about linking up perhaps, and maybe they will now, because Josh hands it off to Nick, and Nick Dacos shows his class. Oh, that's what Pies fans have wanted to see for so long, and they come to him from everywhere. And a little bit of a celebration after as well.
What was that?
That looked like the Globo Gym Purple Cobras. Ginnivan tumbles it toward goal. Dragged down off the footy was Kruger. No free kick. Frost bursts away for the Hawks. Measures the pass nicely to Warple. He turns to go. He's got plenty of speed to burn too, James Warple. Oh, the Warpedo just rams it forward. Lewis is on the end of it, and that's probably the best passage of play from the Hawks all day. And Lynch wins it down to Ward, to McDonald. A couple of the youngsters for the Hawks combined to send it to full forward. Off the ground, having a go and being able to sneak it home. That's a nice finish from Seamus Mitchell. Wants to find an option to go to. Kicks to the pocket. Gunston floats down. Shields, in fact, it is who takes the mark. It is a very strange sight, though. It is unusual, but whatever you need, Mason, that's what's going to make it work. Here's Dacos, Nick Dacos, a little handball through the traffic to Myercheck, finds Ginnivan, who rises and marks.
Of Hawthorn's defence.
So Ginnivan kicked 3 against the Pies last year when they met late in the season, and he's got one early here at Morwell, and Collingwood in front through 10 minutes of the ruck. Won it down. Licks the handball from Lipinski. And then smashes it forward. The breeze certainly favouring that end of the ground at the freeway end. And Sicily's beat. It's going to be a free kick going to James Sicily in the end for the Hawks. Drives a low kick outside the defensive 50. Mitchell read it so beautifully off the hands. Handball to
the pre-season drafts and then the mid-season obviously as well.
Oh, great pressure from Ginnivan. Has he won a free kick for the Pies there? He has in the forward pocket.
He's looking to give it up, but I don't think he's that keen, is he?
So Ginnivan on the left boot to the freeway end, has no trouble with that. And Collingwood have got 4 in the opening.
What is it? Their prime movers are up and moving.
Lipinski's up and moving at the stoppage. Take it with him. Elliott's there again. Here is Lipinski. First game for Collingwood, at least in an unofficial capacity, and his first goal in the black and white. Side for the Pies, and now Cox is involved. Those spectacles are going to be some kind of sight here in this new season. He launches it inside the 50, and again Elliott's up, having kicked. After being tormented by injuries for so long, we know what a talent he is when he can get out there. From just inside the 50 to provide the perfect end to the first quarter for Collingwood. 6 in a row for the Pies. In term in that Hawthorn defensive unit. Gunston wheels away and fires the Hawks inside the 50. And a big mark pulled in by Ned Reeves at full forward. For Collingwood, coming out after it is Hoskin Elliott. Such an important player is that link-up player for the Pies. Inside the 50, and Myercheck rises and marks.
Right hand of the screen, so just picked it up a lot better, Brody Myercheck.
Hooks it around the body. Has it done enough work? Oh, it has. That's a great finish. Hooking it back from right time and darts it up the line. Myercheck pulls it in. Collingwood are away. Hoskin Elliott will go through the 50 to Pendlebury, who normally sizes things up pretty well. Elects to dish it off. Ginnivan goes one more. Kruger into the open goal, tumbles it through.
Give the new player
setting up another attacking opportunity on the lead. A great mark taken again. Elliott's in it once more.
The champion data stats, but you'd think that their pressure level is through the roof at the moment, the Pies.
We know he can be a match winner, Jamie Elliott, and he's got 4 in the first half here at Morwell. Forward 50. Maynard juggles it, not paid. Dean got boot to ball inside the back 50 for Collingwood. Moore tried to ride the tackle, got caught holding the ball.
Plug the gap.
Good presentation from Kruger on the outer side. The lefty kicks inside the forward 50. Numbers out the back here for Collingwood. Elliott to himself, runs into goal and kicks his 5th. Oh, Jamie Elliott on fire at Morwell. He's got 5.
Round just highlighting the importance that the role they play in the community.
Of course, the Hawks have been such a key part of the Blue Ribbon round, as well as Kruger's on the end of it here again. 3 seasons at Geelong. Traded for a 3rd round pick in the off-season. He absolutely lays into that one. And that's another beautiful kick from Kruger. He might be emerging as a bit of a cult. Was Lynch. Turns it over to Hawthorn. All up toward half forward for the Pies. Darting kick inside forward 50. Cox sprawls forward and takes the mark.
Down in Morwell, but hopefully the big fella can put this through.
From just inside the 50, he struck it reasonably well. He struck it very well indeed. Taylor Adams run down by McCreary, who's just an absolute battering ram. And now Noble has a go. He picks Scrimshaw off and surely wins a free kick.
John today.
The yellow and white numbers goes inside the forward 50 and a mark to Myercheck.
Just take your pick.
There is Bramble again. Shields along the boundary line for the Hawks into the action. Kicks up the line. Should be a free kick to Gunston there, who was dragged off it. Won't quite be paid, and then the flying shot at goal has somehow found its way through. That's a terrific goal from Warple.
Looks like he's going around the body and puts it through.
Doing it nicely is Jack Ginnivan. So he's got another for his accounts, and the Pies can raise the bat because they've cracked the ton here at Morwell. Pretty nice start to your weekend, I'd imagine. Grundy takes it away from the middle of the ground. Two Dacos boys thought about linking up perhaps, and Maybe they will now, because Josh hands it off to Nick, and Nick Dacos shows his class. Oh, that's what Pies fans have wanted to see for so long, and they come to him from everywhere. And a little bit of a celebration after as well.
What was that?
That looked like the Globo Gym Purple Cobras. Ginnivan tumbles it toward goal. Dragged down off the footy was Kruger. No free kick. Frost bursts away for the Hawks. Measures the pass nicely to Warple. He turns to go. And he's got plenty of speed to burn too, James Warple. Oh, the Warpedo just rams it forward. Lewis is on the end of it. And that's probably the best passage of play from the Hawks all day. Lynch. Lynch wins it down to Ward, to McDonald. A couple of the youngsters for the Hawks combined to send it to full forward. Off the ground, having a go and being able to sneak it home. That's a nice finish from Seamus Mitchell. Wants to find an option to go to. Kicks to the pocket. Gunston floats down. Shields, in fact, it is who takes the mark. It is a very strange sight, though. It is unusual, but whatever you need, Mason, that's what's going to make it work. Here's Dacos, Nick Dacos, a little handball through the traffic to Myercheck, finds Ginnivan, who rises and marks.
Of Hawthorn's defence.
So Ginnivan kicked 3 against the Pies last year when they met late in the season, and he's got one early here at Morwell, and Collingwood in front through 10 minutes of the ruck. Won it down. Collects the handball from Lipinski. And then smashes it forward. The breeze certainly favouring that end of the ground at the freeway end. And Sicily's it's going to be a free kick going to James Sicily in the end for the Hawks. Drives a low kick outside the defensive 50. Mitchell read it so beautifully off the hands. Handball. 3 periods down and 3 to go at Morwell Recreation Reserve, and Collingwood doing all the scoring early in this 2022 practice match on KO Sports. Pies with 18 goals with their number 1 side out there. Jamie Elliott with 5 of them. Hawthorn able to snag 6 in the opening half of this 6 period practice game. Joel Peterson and Steve Gillam, the Premiership Hawk, with you here on KO Sports. Some great stuff doing the rounds on social media in the halftime break, particularly, Steve. Among it was the note that Isaac Quain has been assessed for a head knock, and Collingwood say that he's okay. He'll continue to be monitored, but past the concussion protocol, which is good news.
Yeah, hopefully he's all good. Just walked off, had a head knock earlier in the game, so hopefully all good as we get ready for the second half.
Expecting to see plenty of new faces out there among the second half combatants as we go here. Ned Long out there for the Hawks, the rookie. Newcomb still out there doing his thing as well, giving chase. He was really good in that first half of football. Ranger Barras is able to cut it off across the back 50. So the Hawks, a little bit more scoring in that third period, but really get a hell of a lot going for the most part. Locked up across half forward here. Inch going in ruck. Finlay McRae out there for the Pies, who's one that they'll be pretty keen to see get plenty of opportunity in season 2020. Shields there for Hawthorn. Accepts the handball. It's back toward the boundary line and can't combine with Hardwick.
Change the strips, the Hawks in the training jumper, I guess. The alternate strip. The Pies just going for the all black number. That's really worked for them so far in this game.
Stick with what you know and stick with what's worked. Mason Cox is up in the ruck, chases it toward the boundary line with those prescription goggles on, slams it inside the forward 50. That's all the Hawks back there. Frost, showing his dash and really showing the full Sam Frost experience. He turns it over. Harrison pokes it forward for Collingwood, throwing a boot at it is Henry. Frost has another go. He's besieged. He got absolutely mobbed. Harrison's there again for Collingwood. Left foot kick. Couldn't clear the traffic, and they pile in at full forward for the Pies.
Love Frosty. Players love Frosty. Geez, he has a go, but probably not his strongest suit. His foot skills coming out of the back line. You always got your heart in your mouth.
His ambitions and capabilities, and they can get a bit topsy-turvy at times, but geez, certainly aggressive, and a free kick coming from the stoppage here, and Big Darcy Cameron will take it for the Pies after the ruck lottery's been awarded.
Up against his old mate Max Lynch.
Yes, had a pretty good season
Pie.
last year, did Big Darcy. 22 goals on the campaign from 18 games for the Pies. Sky's just getting a little darker here at Morwell this late afternoon. Cameron lines up for the first of the second half and tugs it to the left.
Got some big units, the Pies. Add Cameron and Kruger into the mix, joining Cox and Grundy, whether it's up forward or changing through the ruck.
I've just
Look
encountered...
good, most of those boys.
Absolutely. I've encountered an issue here, Steve, that the listeners at home won't care about. I've got a 4-pen, and this is a 6-quarter game. I don't really know where to go next.
You're in trouble. Well, we thought we rocked up here doing 25 minutes, and I think maybe Craig and Sam have spoken to each other, and now it's 30-minute 6 periods. So
brainstorming on the drive down the
on the way
Princess
down,
Freeway,
know
I think.
each other pretty well, so just working it out to suit themselves, I think.
Big fly there in the pack. Granger Barras, who got upstairs for the Hawks and tried to bring it down. Daniel Howe, who had a great season last year for Hawthorn, to McDonald. Have you been impressed by so far, Steve?
Yeah, I have. He's done some nice things today. It's been more so the last few weeks. Track whisperers and also in the intra-club games, he's looked comfortable at the level, and I think that's always a good sign when they're not rushed, making good decisions with the footy when he's got it in his hands. So it'd be a big asset for Hawthorn this year, hopefully.
Lynch slaps it out in ruck. Warple's been good. Reef McInnes there, who, along with Finlay McRae, and they combine, two of the young midfielders looking for some opportunity this year for Collingwood, and Frost cuts it off and just whacks it back the other way, and it's pretty easily read in the end by Isaac Chugg for the Magpies. One of their rookies, Tasmanian. Sends it inboard. Now Poulter's got a chance, and maybe a free kick or a 50 here. And Caleb Poulter's going to be waltzed inside the arc.
Pick up what happened there. Dan Howe on the mark, maybe infringed, held on, or tried to hold him up. Umpire's red hot, setting the tone for the year.
So 11 games last season. The Ardrossan product from the York Peninsula in South Australia. Only kicked the 2 goals last year, but that's a pretty nice strike on the left boot. And Caleb Poulter's straight into the action, and Collingwood continue on their scoring ways.
Just don't stop kicking goals. The Pies, doesn't matter who it is. Changed a few things around. Some new faces out there. Here's another one, just trying to pick up what... Yeah, so I think he's just encroached over the mark, taken 1 or 2 steps too far and paid the ultimate price, and Poulter made no mistake. Another one goes in the book for the Pies. It's how many goal scorers they had without putting you on the spot.
I've got it at 7, so
Yeah.
5 for Elliott, 2 for Kruger, 3 for... make it 8, so 3 for Ginnivan, 3 for Myercheck, 3 for Cox, and 1 each for Poulter, Dacos and Lipinski.
Been a good spread. They looked super dangerous going forward. I mean, that was a bit of a gift, that one, but sharing it around, had a lot of looks today, the Pies.
Plenty of opportunities for their 19 goals for. So not only have they had plenty of chances, but they've been pretty dead-eye in front of the sticks too.
Yeah, and you can see by the flags in the background, those signage flags in the background, they're waving around all over the place. So they've done really well to kick as accurately as they have.
Warple takes it away from the stoppage. Oh, it's misread off hands. A golden opportunity here for Kajitsky, who steams into the open sticks. And he's able to slot through his first of the day.
Take them any way you can get. As a forward, nice when they fall into your lap like that. Just with a bit of the wind carrying the ball, it's just broken through the defender's hands there, and Cozzie's done the rest. I love it when that happens. Good feeling when there's no one between you and the goals. Got the downhill skis on. You always find a yard, funnily enough, when you're running towards goal.
You're like the Super G or the Mogul in the Winter Olympics, flying
Just take
downhill.
off. Yeah, not so easy when you're running back towards your own goal, unfortunately. I've found.
Especially back into the wind if the Hawthorn defensive goal in this quarter. Cox is there at the restart. Mitchell slams it forward for the Hawks. Bouncing ball taken by Magin. Got taken in the tackle. He got nailed. And some good pressure from the Hawks here. And it'll be Long who'll have an opportunity.
Great tackle from the young fella. Just Magin just wanted a little bit more time, but Ned Long, he's got a big, strong body. Such a young prospect. Hopefully he's gone back, knows what to do around goals.
On the rookie list, had lots of injuries in his draft year. He's a very rangy customer. Sinks the right slipper into that. Just fades to the right-hand side. Shown plenty some of these young Hawks. We've seen Ward early on. Even Newcomb, who's only in his second season, has been outstanding.
Brambles, another one.
Yep.
And, now Ned Long and a few others getting their opportunity in this second half of this game.
Driven out to the wing. Cameron over the top, fists it down. Howe gets there for the Hawks. There's going to be a free kick. And they'll go to Denver Granger Barras, who's keen to move it on quickly. Howe hooks it to full forward for Hawthorn. Puck dropped in defence for the Pies. Maybe a high tackle against Murphy. Through the traffic. The opportunity again for Hawthorn. And they've got another to start this term. And that one through the agency of Dylan Moore.
Just hard work. Well done by Denver Granger Barras, looking to be proactive and move the footy quick. Get it in long with the wind. Just create something out of nothing. Dylan Moore for the last season and a bit. Been really dangerous for the Hawks inside 50. He doesn't need a lot of opportunity. Just stays involved. Picks it up. Works his way through traffic. Great sidestep. Kicks it straight through the middle. Some good signs for the Hawks. The end of that third period and the start of this fourth one now. Being able to string multiple goals together for the first time in this match and get the game played on their terms for a long period of this game so far. It's been Collingwood kicking bags of goals in a row, but chance for the Hawks to grab some momentum.
Halfback Rusco, little handball through the traffic. Callum Brown sprints clear for Collingwood. Kicks inside the 50. The dribbler from McInnes, only just missed. Left it a little narrow. That was nice on the left boot.
Knew what he was doing, didn't he? Just wanted to that ball just shape around. Got the right to left working, just a little bit sharp on that occasion.
Here's another one that they expect a bit out of. Didn't get a chance last year, Reef McInnes, after being taken in the 2020 draft, but should find his way into some senior action this season. Imagine across half-back, the number 23 for the Pies. They come in board. Murphy. Roscoe just has to sit under that in the centre square. No one within Kui of him. Darts the kick inside the 50. Lovely presentation, and McInnes is on the end of this.
You're tearing your hair out if you're Sam Mitchell on that play. There's no way a player should be in that much space to be able to switch the football essentially from one side to the other and be able to stand there and then be able to play on without any pressure and deliver it inside 50. Defenders be tearing your hair out.
So Reef McInnes, 23 pick a couple of years ago. This time on the right boot. He left the last one to the left-hand side and he leaves that out to the right. I see a number of VFL players littered throughout this second half of the game too. So Hawthorn named 10 from Box Hill and Collingwood 6 or 7 from their VFL program on their side for this afternoon. There's one of them for the Pies in Sam Glover. Newcomb again. He's a hard worker. Takes a bit to bring him down. He sprints clear of the contest, sends it to half forward. Jekka's out to meet it, rolls around on the right boot, spears the pass inside the 50. Lovely delivery. And Lewis will get a look at the sticks.
Just saying about the VFL players getting some exposure at this level. It's such a good thing to see that they'd be absolutely rapt to get the opportunity to play with some of the Hawthorn and Collingwood listed players out there today. Just do so much for their learning and development. But you're excited with that piece of play, Jai Newcomb busting out of congestion on the wing, and Mitch Lewis ends up with the footy inside 50 after a nice kick from Emerson Jekka, setting him up through centre half forward. So really interesting to see how Emerson goes this second half. Hopefully he can get going for the Hawks.
Couldn't quite find the finish there, Lewis. From the set shot. That was a nice build-up from Hawthorn. Something they certainly struggled to do in the first and second term when Collingwood dominated possession. A bit of a, so going to say there was some good pressure and a little bit too much pressure perhaps, as free kick given away by McGuinness. Rusco to take it for the Pies. Kick short to Henry. Said at half time you like the look of Ollie Henry, Steve?
Yeah, you can just tell straight away. He just looks like he's got the tricks to work at the AFL level. He just makes good decisions. He's poised. He gets into good spots. He's got good awareness around him of what's going on.
His brother Jack, a hell of a player down at Geelong, brought on All-Australian last year. In the pocket here, Poulter tied up against the boundary line, kicks it to full forward, centering ball. Pretty easily picked off by the Hawthorn defence.
Keller, is it, working back in defence?
Another one of their pickups in recent times out of the Box Hill program. A good juggling mark from Lewis up on the wing. Stay with the play, good concentration. See a lot that he likes immediately. Imagine backed off on the mark. Lewis sends it defensively and they'll start the passage again through Scrimshaw. Hardwick featured in that second term and done so since. Scrimshaw, that's a nice delivery. Try and build it forward here. It was a scrubby kick, but an effective one at the end. It ends up with Warple with a flying shot on goal, and he misses to the left-hand side.
Just a more patient build-up, that one, where Mitch Lewis, probably in the first three quarters, are looking to go forward instead of switch the play and work it through the Collingwood defence. But they're able to, on that occasion, Jackson Keller scrubbing the kick, but he had a player free, and James, without a lot of pressure, probably should have done better with that kick.
Good mark from Cameron, who gets upstairs and pulls it in. It's going to be important as that secondary target for Collingwood up forward. Goes short to Chug, back to Cameron. Kicks up the line, big pack around the footy, and it's rushed over. Might be Nathan Murphy who got bustled into on the bench there. McGuinness is into it with Tyler Brown.
Right near the Collingwood bench. Finn just making him earn it over the boundary line there. And plenty of feeling in this one.
Brown boys combined. Tyler to Callum for Collingwood. Goes inside the 50. There's been plenty of spirit in the game, especially early on. Free kick coming to the Pies here in the marking contest.
Yeah, Granger Barras just caught out of position. Didn't have eyes on the footy when he made contact. So the umpire had no choice there but to pay the free kick against the young Hawks defender, who, again, is highly touted. The first pick overall in last year's, or the 2020 draft. Got high hopes for Denver Granger Barras going forward, the Hawks.
Pretty tough place to play a trade as a young player, though. Here's Ash Johnson, mid-season draftee for the Pies last year. Didn't get his chance through injury, and he misses an opportunity in front of goal there on the right-hand side. But they're pretty excited about what he might be able to provide with his physical tools. Ash Johnson.
A lot of big bodies inside that Collingwood forward line at times, with Cox and Kruger, and big targets for the Collingwood players up the field.
Cameron and Grundy going through there. All haven't been out there necessarily at the same time in this altered format game. As Mitchell clears the pack for the Hawks. Long inside the 50. 3 Hawks fly for the footy. Kajitsky at the front. Lewis is out the back and Moore's underneath it all. Tries to scrub it forward. They'll just force the football, almost willing it forward here. Soccer off the ground for the Hawks. Has found the marker. And is it Ned Long who snuck one home for Hawthorn?
It is. Just again, just through effort. Just not giving up on the play. 3 players flew for it, which isn't ideal, but great work by McGuinness at ground level, and it was almost an errant kick of Long that dribbled through. He'd feel good about that. Big body up, playing through the midfield and resting up forward. He's been a target a couple of times, already had a shot and kicks that one. So holding their own, the Hawks, after probably the first half being dominated by the Pies in spurts of goals. Being able to even it out the last couple of terms in this game.
So 3 goals in the quarter for Hawthorn. Premiership Hawks Steve Gillam alongside Joel Peterson here on KO Sports on your Friday evening. 91 players named to play in this game over 6 quarters, so 180 minutes of footy. It'll be a tired old trip back up the freeway, you'd imagine, as Lynch launches inside the 50 and finds Lewis.
Starting to feel confident at the level. Mitch Lewis was rising in confidence. Lynch was really confident to kick it in his direction, and he did the rest. As I said, he's set himself for a massive year this year through his training in the off-season and pre-season so far, so hopefully that can translate.
Number of opportunities so far. Can he steer that one through? No, he's hit the post.
Play on, shouldn't it be in the pre-season?
We were speaking about the absence of the super goals from pre-season at the halftime break, and that the rule when the ball hit the behind post that it could come back into play and be play on. That did cause some interesting moments. If there was one rule you could bring back, Steve, would it be that? Just for novelty's sake rather than to go forward with?
Yeah, look, it creates a bit of interest. I think, people that are foreign to our game can't really understand the scoring necessarily. It doesn't make sense that the ball sort of springs back into play and goes dead. It should be live. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that one. Over the journey, we've had some interesting rules thrown into the mix. But, yeah, that wasn't a bad one.
Is Long with a chance. Saw Derek Egmalesi-Smith a moment ago, the former Tiger, out there for the Pies. Long's going to fancy his chances here with the breeze at his back.
Yeah, it's still pretty stiff breeze going to the right of screen, I think, which is helping the Hawks' cause in this term. I think just going long and direct, and Long's ended up on the end of it again.
So Ned Long, he lives up to his name in terms of distance with the kick, but can't find the accuracy on it. Peppering the goals here in this the fourth period of the Hawks. Imagine it full back. Bring it in for Collingwood. Kicks to a pack. Cox among it. Brown was there for the Pies, picked up by Newcomb, who sends it toward goal for Hawthorn. It was swinging left to right, but they get a hand to it right on the last line, the Pies. Wasting no time bringing it back into play is Tom Wilson, the former Sydney Kings basketballer. Halfback for the Pies, played 4 games last season for them. Mostly in defence, sends it up the line. Cox 2 hands to it, couldn't mark. Took it up in the stoppage, freed the arms, got the kick forward, but again, it's Newcomb for Hawthorn. Handball out wide to Morrison, sells a little bit of candy, and then gets on the left, sends it to full forward. Lewis with a big run and rise. Growing in confidence every minute, Steve.
Yeah, it was great grab in between 2 Collingwood defenders. See here on the replay, bit of candy by Morrison after getting it from Newcomb, and just sets himself in between 2 and pulls down the big grab. Needs to go back just for his own confidence in the side, just reward for effort here to go back and put it through the big sticks.
Only kicked the one. He's had a number of shots. He needed to start a few further left. He started that one too far left.
Yeah, look, we can work on that with Mitch, but that big clunk is what you want to see. If he can start doing that at the AFL level, he will be a handful. And the players will just really kick it to him with confidence, knowing that he's going to clunk them like that.
3 goals, 6 in the period for Collingwood, so they've certainly amped up the wick in terms of the scoring pressure. Noble chips it to half-back. Is Harrison Harvey, West Adelaide product to a North Adelaide product. Now back to Rusco. Into the centre of the ground. Dangerous kick. Harvey left it behind. In fact, on that occasion, it was Hustwaite for the Pies, one of their VFL players out there this afternoon. Brought to ground by Lewis inside forward 50 for the Hawks. Collingwood with numbers around the footy, but it's turned over, and Morrison, who was the goal assist a moment ago, might have a chance to line up for himself here.
Oh, beautiful kick of the footy, Harry, just pressing up. That pressure was great from Lewis again. Couldn't mark it, but brought it to ground and put the Collingwood defenders under pressure. Just had to hack it out of there, and Morrison was in the right spot at the right time. Needs to go back and drill it.
As you can tell, we're going to have some kind of world record score between these two sides this afternoon with a 6-quarter game, as Morrison tries to add his name to the major scorers and can't quite.
Tell you what, it's a bit contagious. Those set shots once a few teammates have missed, and then everyone's looking at you with the ball in your hand. You feel the pressure. Geez, I better kick this one. And 9-17. Seen some outrageous scores already. A few of the practice games so far.
He's put Adelaide kicking 19 behinds earlier today to go down to the Suns. It was certainly an interesting one. Scrimshaw at halfback for Hawthorn, trying to set them up. They have moved the footy a lot better here in this second half, or the fourth of these 6 periods. Rusco with a go at it for Collingwood. Lewis picks it up, tries to throw this one around the corner and snap it at goal, and it's off hands on the way through and out for a throw-in. Looking forward to seeing Will Kelly for Collingwood, who's been lurking around on the bench here in this second half. Just hasn't had a run at it through injury, but he's a tantalising prospect.
Yeah, well, really exciting for him to get out there finally for himself and the Collingwood supporters and get a clear run at it this year, hopefully.
What a little handball at the stoppage to Howe. Can he find the answer? He can't either. That one's hit the post on the way through. So plenty of behinds here for Collingwood, 9 of them in the term, and they're doing it every which way.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're not putting it on the scoreboard as much as what they should, but I think they should be pleased with how they're controlling this game and pinning Collingwood into their own back half so far during this 4th term.
Now had more scoring shots, which is rather remarkable the way the game's unfolded. Kruger, we know he's got such a leg on him. He sends it to half forward. Cameron. That's a towering mark right on the 50. Can he go the journey from here? Probably not back into the wind. Going back with some kind of purpose, though. Big fella, the ex-Swan. Just pitching wedges it toward goal, and it was pretty easy picking for Big Ned Reeves. He didn't stand out at 209 centimetres, certainly would because of the yellow boots. Up the wing, Jekka with a run at it. Hustwaite there for the Pies. Rusco, he's got a pretty brightly coloured pair of boots of his own. Collingwood force it forward. Callum Brown sets chase after it. His handball all stolen by Morrison. Might have spent it before he had it. Poulter now to Henry, flying shot. That won't get there.
It's a little bit scrappy, both sides. Got the younger players out there. Fatigue starting to kick in. Just game slowing down a little bit, but once you get fatigued, you can make more mistakes.
Ranger Barras brings it in. It's going to be cut off here by Aidan Begg. Collingwood's 2 mid-season draftees last year out of Ringwood. Had the shoulder injury as it taped up. Sends it into the centre for Callan Wellings. Kicks inside 50. It's all Hawks at the back. Ranger Barras left it behind. Shields threw a boot at it. Rumbles around inside the 50 for the Pies. Holter has a go. Still Collingwood with plenty of pressure around the football. Cooper Murley's in there, another of their young South Australian products. That's all the Hawks in defence. They'll be able to clear here. Lovely switching kick, and Shields runs onto it. He's dropped in the bucket in front of him. A couple of minutes to go here in this fourth period. Joel Peterson and Steve Gillam with you on KO Sports. Friday evening footy. This practice round of games before the community series next week, and the real stuff in a couple of weeks' time in the 2022 AFL season. Bramble with some dash off halfback. 2 bounces for the Williamstown product. Sends it inside the 50 to kick let him down.
It's the game being played in the arc at the moment. Hawthorn prepared to be a little bit more slower and more measured with their build-up. Just can't connect. Had a really good term. Now they need to close this quarter out by not letting the Pies come back late, kick a late couple of goals.
Looks like there is Will Kelly, who takes the free from the outer side and sends it forward. Reeves stands in the way for Hawthorn. An easy target to pick out. Kelly will have another go here. Handball toward the boundary line. Noble toes the chalk. Kept it in. Well, handball back was not ideal, but taken by Finlay McRae across halfback for the Pies. He goes toward Draper. That was run down by Howe. Howe now a handball on for Collingwood, or for Hawthorn, I should say, and they almost mark it up. Draper's in there on the tackle. McGuinness for the Hawks. They'll try and surge it forward late in this fourth period. Warple with the step, and then swings onto the right boot. That's a lovely delivery. Jecker couldn't pull it in. Trying to go through it, half forward, the former Hawk in Phillips, who's making sure the umpire knows he's trying to get rid of that ball. It was like he was chipping away at solid rock with a pick. Just trying to hack it out of his own hands. Reeves reaches up in ruck. Moore was held without it, and Dylan Moore's going to get a free kick.
It's always dangerous, always on the move. That's how you got to be when you're small forward in those forward lines, just making your defenders defend, making them nervous. A lot of times they get done for just grab of a jumper. That's all the umpire needs to see, and Dill can just go back and hopefully suck some juice out of the clock as we sort of run down to the end of this fourth period. Needs to kick truly.
7 consecutive behinds for the Hawks, make it 8. Not quite for Dylan Moore, who's already got 2 goals, one of them coming in this term. So right on the end of this fourth period, let's imagine Waltz is in. It's going to be drawn to a close. So 4 in the books at Morwell, 2 to come in this extended practice match between Hawthorn and Collingwood for season 2022. And Hawthorn doing plenty of scoring in that term. Only the 3 goals, but they kicked 3 goals, 10 to Collingwood's 1 goal 4 to tighten the gap on the scoreboard, but certainly shows some more attacking flair. Collingwood in front by 38 points. Plenty more to come from Morwell Recreation Reserve here on KO Sports. Matt Ginnivan tumbles it toward goal. Dragged down off the footy was Kruger. No free kick. Frost bursts away for the Hawks. Measures the pass nicely to Warple. He turns to go. He's got plenty of speed to burn too, James Warple. Oh, the Warpedo just rams it forward. Lewis is on the end of it, and that's probably the best passage of play from the Hawks all day. And Lynch wins it down to Ward, to McDonald. A couple of the youngsters for the Hawks combined to send it to full forward. Off the ground, having a go and being able to sneak it home. That's a nice finish from Seamus Mitchell. Wants to find an option to go to. Kicks to the pocket. Gunston floats down. Shields, in fact, it is who takes the mark.
Signage flags in the background, they're waving around all over the place, so they've done really well to kick as accurately as they have.
Warple takes it away from the stoppage, or it's misread off hands. A golden opportunity here for Kajitsky, who steams into the open sticks. And he's able to slot through his first of the day. Ranger Barras is keen to move it on quickly. Howe hooks it to full forward for Hawthorn. Muck dropped in defence for the Pies. Maybe a high tackle against Murphy. Through the traffic, the opportunity again for Hawthorn. And they've got another to start this term. And that one through the agency of Dylan Moore. Murphy. Roscoe just has to sit under that in the centre square. No one within Kui of him. Darts the kick inside the 50. Lovely presentation, and McInnes is on the end of this. Takes a bit to bring him down. He sprints clear of the contest, sends it to half forward. Jekka's out to meet it, rolls around on the right boot, spears the pass inside the 50. Lovely delivery beneath it all. Tries to scrub it forward. They'll just force the football, almost willing it forward here. Soccer off the ground for the Hawks. Has found the marker. And is it Ned Long who snuck one home? 180 minutes of footy. It'll be a tired old trip back up the freeway, you'd imagine, as Lynch launches inside the 50 and finds Lewis. Newcombe for Hawthorn. Handball out wide to Morrison, sells a little bit of candy and then gets on the left, sends it to full forward. Lewis with a big run and rise. More scoring shots, which is rather remarkable the way the game's unfolded. Kruger, we know he's got such a leg on him. He sends it to half forward. Cameron. That's a towering mark right on the 50. Ginnivan tumbles it toward goal. Dragged down off the footy was Kruger. No free kick. Frost bursts away for the Hawks. Measures the pass nicely to Warple. He turns to go. He's got plenty of speed to burn too, James Warple. Oh, the Warpedo just rams it forward. Lewis is on the end of it, and that's probably the best passage of play from the Hawks all day. And Lynch wins it down to Ward, to McDonald. A couple of the youngsters for the Hawks combined to send it to full forward. Off the ground, having a go and being able to sneak it home. That's a nice finish from Seamus Mitchell. Wants to find an option to go to. Kicks to the pocket. Gunston floats down. Shields, in fact, it is who takes the mark.
Signage flags in the background, they're waving around all over the place, so they've done really well to kick as accurately as they have.
Warple takes it away from the stoppage, or it's misread off hands. A golden opportunity here for Kajitsky, who steams into the open sticks. And he's able to slot through his first of the day. Ranger Barras is keen to move it on quickly. Howe hooks it to full forward for Hawthorn. Muck dropped in defence for the Pies. Maybe a high tackle against Murphy. Through the traffic, the opportunity again for Hawthorn, and they've got another to start this term, and that one through the agency of Dylan Moore. Murphy. Roscoe. So 4 periods in the books at Morwell Recreation Reserve. Still Collingwood in charge, but a much better 4th period there from Hawthorn. Joel Peterson and Premiership Hawks Steve Gillen with you on KO Sports for this AFL practice match for season 2022. As we mentioned, it was much more promising for the Hawks there in that period of play, Steve.
Yeah, went to call him Duke Newcombe. John Newcombe.
A Toy Story action.
Was getting his hands on the footy, and the Hawks were controlling things from a territory point of view. Obviously, the wind at their back helped, and Mitch Lewis took a couple of really strong grabs. They just couldn't finish off their work. I think they kicked 2 or 3 goals 10 in that quarter, so hopefully they got their kicking boots on and don't have the yips this quarter. Expecting Collingwood to come back strongly this period with the wind.
3 goals 10 for the Hawks in that term. So we get started here in the 5th period. And the Pies pretty keen to move it forward. Nice little bit of candy sold there by Ollie Henry, who's played a little bit on the ball in these later stages. Lynch there for the Hawks. Handball batted down by Poulter, who goes in pretty hard after the tackle. Have away a free kick. On the Pie and Phillips. Advantage paid. Hawks come down the line. That's a good mark pulled in up on the wing there for Hawthorn.
Callow.
Really nice mark from Callow. A little bit of dash now as well for the Hawks as they try and move it forward.
Good luck here, Joel, with some of the names.
A low kick inside the forward 50.
They've changed the squads over a little bit.
So the Hawks have gone for the second side here. We had basically the same Hawthorn side for the first 4 quarters. Collingwood with their some of their VFL players chipping in here in the third term, but Hawthorn have now switched it up completely.
That's a familiar face to Hawks fans, kicking the ball in, Michael Hartley.
Yeah, of course, he was on Collingwood, he was a rookie with Collingwood, and then he went to Essendon in the VFL as ended up a top-up player and played some good footy there, and then back to Hawthorn, and now back to Collingwood where it all started. Jalen Thorpe goes long, and that is a really nice mark from Jekka.
It's exciting to see. So good to see some of these VFL boys out there strutting their stuff. Be really important for them in their career and their development. But great to see Emerson Jekka pull down a contested mark like that. Give him a lot of confidence. Hopefully he can go back and slot at the big man.
Had the glove out in the intra-club a couple of weeks ago. I'm a bit disappointed he's not still rocking it, to be honest. He starts the kick right. It curves, not enough. The Fraser Gehrig style piece of accessory.
Yeah, I think he had an injured finger or hand he was carrying out.
I think on the right hand he's got a couple of the fingers taped up.
I'm just hearing news through that unfortunately Isaac Quainer suffered a concussion earlier on in this game, and that means with the protocols that he'll miss their proper hit out next week. So for the Pies?
Yeah, if we gave you the bum steer on that earlier, we are going to blame the Collingwood Twitter account. So the official Collingwood page said that he was all okay, and then retweeted the own tweet and said, oh, actually, he's got concussion and he's going to miss. So
I don't think too serious by the sounds of that, but with the protocols now, which I think is a really good move, he'll take it easy and be right to go, hopefully, in round 1.
Sounds as though he was up and on the bench and sort of high-fiving with teammates after the incident, which looked pretty innocuous. I mean, there didn't look to be a great deal in it, some awful heavy hit or anything like that. And he's a pretty tough customer as well. He's Quainer. Nice mark from Murphy in defence for the Pies. Sends it up toward the wing. Can't be pulled in by Henry. And it's going to be tossed back in on the wing.
Maxwell down on the boundary.
Actually, it's going to be a free kick all the way back down at half forward for...
Yeah, I think the umpire just wasn't happy with a bit of back chat.
So Jack Saunders will take it. He'll drop it on the boot to full forward. Big punch there from Hartley. You know, he's such a stout defender. Murphy inside defensive 50 for the Pies. Tumbles it into the centre. Oh, strong tackle. That's really good stuff from Henry. Locks the footy up in the middle of the ground. He's anything like his brother, Ollie Henry. He'll do a little bit of everything.
Love to see that from your younger players. Really good tackle technique. Taking the hit, taking it to ground. Shown some really good signs, Henry, today.
Lynch still battling away in the ruck here for Hawthorn. 3 games, 4 seasons at Collingwood. Made the switch to the Hawks in the off-season. Phillips, another former Pie, who's involved in this passage. Shields' kick won't quite stay in. Oh, well, Derek Egg-Molesty Smith was able to keep it in. That was a nifty bit of work. He sent it down the line. That was cut off, though, for the Hawks by Fiona O'Hara, the Irish recruit on a 2-year deal, coming to the club from the Gaelic and rugby union background. Showing some pretty promising signs. Rusco's kick turned over to Howe. He shoots it inside the forward 50, picked up on the half volley by Sarong. Brother of the Rising Star winner, Caleb lays the tackle there, should be rewarded and is.
Great to see young players staying in the game like that. Drop the ability to take possession, but stayed involved. Go back and have his first shot on goal for the Hawks.
His brother kicked goal of the year last season, and Jai Sarong loads up here for his first in the Hawks colours and just fades right to left. A little bit taller and rangier than Caleb.
Yep, Yeah, he's a big unit. He's obviously still growing and filling out, Caleb. So, yeah, he's that medium size, hard matchup.
So the Hawks with 9 goals, 22 now, 11 straight behinds for Hawthorn.
31 shots to 26. You feel like it's been a game of two halves. Collingwood dominating and make the most of it on the scoreboard early, and then the Hawks have really owned the last couple of periods, we're calling them, I think today, that in the early stages of the fifth, playing 6 all up today.
All out toward the boundary line, toward the former Saint Ed Phillips. It's on the list for Box Hill. So out there, the Box Hill players, Ed Phillips, Fergus Green, the former Bulldog, Louis D'Angelo, Lachlan Wine, Jalen Thorpe, James Blank, Mitchell Schruck, as well as James Parsons, the former Cats, Callum Porter and Vincent Aducci, all out there for Hawthorn. For Collingwood, Sam Glover, Campbell Hustwaite, Michael Hartley, Callan Wellings, Derek Igналesi-Smith and Jacob Booth, their VFL listed players that have been named for this one. 17 in all between the two sides. Bench in ruck. Callum Brown's been busy since making his arrival into the game. You see the sky is darkening toward the town end, and that's a really good mark pulled in inside the forward 50 for the Hawks.
Jackson Cutler again.
He's been prominent.
Originally, Tassie boy, went and he actually trained with Hawthorn a couple of pre-seasons ago, acted on his feedback, went over and played with Norwood in the SANFL, and had developed and matured so much that ended up on the Hawks list midway through last year.
So Callow starts it right, and he finally breaks the drought for Hawthorn. After 11 straight behinds, the Hawks are back on the board.
Finally. Great reward for effort. It was a really good contested mark. Obviously knows his way around goals. He's been a forward in his junior days, and so far in the state leagues, Norwood and Box Hill pulled it down, juggled it. The easiest kick into the wind, but managed it really nicely. Started it out to the right and curled it back in. Give him some confidence. He loved it too.
As you would.
Always got around him. It's good to see. It's been played in a really good spirit, this game. No one's taken a backward step, but been a little bit of feeling in it.
Yeah, certainly early there was. The breeze has picked up throughout, and maybe some frustrations crept in with goal kicking at times, but for the most part it's been played very sportingly, even though there has been plenty of physicality and we haven't wanted in that sense. Kelly keeps it in along the boundary line for Collingwood. Most fans will be pretty keen to see him get a run at it. Fight for the football on the line. Arlo Draper's among it all. Highly touted youngster out of South Adelaide. I was traded up to pick him in the third round of last year's draft. Almost a dangerous tackle there from Shields, who did enough to make sure he didn't throw Hustwaite over into the fence. 39 points, the margin of Collingwood, who've only kicked the 1 goal since we got to essentially half-time in this game, so the end of the third period when their A-side, so to speak, was out there. Since that point, Hawthorn's been able to bang on 4 goals, 13. So you see the way that the game has changed in the interim. Murphy to take it for the Pies. Sends them long to half forward. Oh, Cameron and Kelly ended up spoiling each other. That wasn't ideal at all, and D'Angelo ends up with the foot of the pack for the Hawks. Burrowing his way through. Shields tries to extricate it and does. Cray jams it on the boot for the Pies inside the 50. Nice takedown low from Begg to try and wrench it free and move it forward for the Pies. Poulter's in there inside the arc. A free kick here for some holding on. It'll be Thorpe who'll take it. One of the Box Hill products for the Hawks. Nervous kick across the back 50 and can't find Lynch.
Been a little bit scrappy. That first 3 quarters of this game was played with really high intensity and high skill, but more of the younger, less experienced players out there, a bit of fatigue creeping in. It's just hasn't been as open, hasn't been as free-flowing and high-scoring as probably what the first 3 quarters were.
Just tried to go on the outside of the boot. McRae, a handball back to Callum Brown, who kicks to full forward. He was looking in the goal square there for Ash Johnson, but Thorpe was there to cut it off for the Hawks. To Howe, deftly touches it on over the top to Phillips. The winger offers plenty of dash. He sends it long up the line. Mark not being able to be taken there by Lockie Wind. Over and for a throw in. A couple of former dogs among the VFL contingent for Hawthorn. Fergus Green, one of them. Callum Porter also. James Parsons, the ex-Cat, is out there as well. So there's a bit of AFL listed experience among those Box Hill players that are out there for the Hawks this afternoon. Here's Jecker, handball off quickly. Shoving on the boot was Parsons. Fergus Green tries to just slap it back into play, but it gets through for a rushed score.
Good to see some of those players getting an opportunity in today's game. Obviously, Sam Mitchell coaching Box Hill last year, coached all those boys, and they'd be keen to impress him out here today.
Green was one who was hoping to maybe get a reprieve. It's been a couple of years the Dogs kicked 30 goals for Box Hill in the VFL last season, the Sandhurst products. Ball off hands and over for a throw-in.
It's been such a strong alignment over so many years, over 20 years now, that Hawthorn Box Hill alignment for both clubs. It's worked really, really well in terms of club success, but also the amount of players that have found themselves on the Hawthorn list after starting their journey at Box Hill.
Now the amount of players that have found themselves coaching Hawthorn after starting at Box Hill, because you only have to look to the very top of Hawthorn to find a great example of exactly what that pathway can provide. They have been such a force in the VFL for so long. Plenty of great players coming through that pathway. Ball with the Hawks across half forward. Sent forward by the former dog in Porter, but it's taken by Murphy. He slams the Pies on the breeze up toward half forward. Numbers there. Hardwick at the back is Phillips. Towing the boundary line dangerously, so was Porter, trying to get his kick away. Callum Brown's there for the Pies. Handball to McRae. Deft little pass inside the 50, low down, the mark has been paid. Jacob Booth with it, I reckon. Wasn't a number 2 named for Collingwood, so that really doesn't help us.
Definitely not Jordan De Goey.
It's definitely not Jordan De Goey.
Resting those ribs on the sideline, I think. He's got a few more weeks.
A little bit less ink than Jordan De Goey. So the Pies with only the 1 goal here in this term, and that one's missed away to the right. Good score. Just waiting for the fans to find the footy. Someone thought they might have been making a runner for the freeway there with the new ball.
Little souvenir.
Pies not having that. Shields inside the defensive 50 for Hawthorn, turns it over. He's got decidedly scrappier. Pies with a chance to send it to full forward. Sit up here for Kelly, who just tries to provide some pressure. That was a nice little paddle work there from Lewis D'Angelo, who had to go tunnel ball style to try and force the footy forward. The kick there from Harrison Harvey's cut off in defence for the Hawks. Hardwick on the last line. He's going to find Phillips. 5 years at the Saints for Ed Phillips. Sends it high up the line. Oh, Jecker, a big rise. Couldn't pull it in. Murphy's been in everything here in this 3rd term for the Pies. Working through the traffic there for Hawthorn. Doing a nice job was Aducci, who's part of their train-on program this pre-season. Collingwood's earned a free kick across half-back through Poulter.
Just a little bit overzealous there, Ned Long. Had a couple of really good moments there, driving his legs through congestion. Just couldn't quite break out to the other side, but that'll come with a bit of experience and a bit of development.
Just fly from Thorpe. There's a Collingwood player down and sore behind the ball. Oh, Wilson got caught with it. Malesi Smith goes through. He can't get a clean disposal away. Nice player still a little bit sore as the ball trickles out inside the forward 50. See the replay of that as Holter slams it toward half forward, and the big rise from Thorpe and the knee in the side there. I think it's Ash Johnson who's a little bit worse for wear. He's getting to his feet now, which is a good sign.
Not exactly what you need in a practice game.
No, not at all.
But you know, when it's your turn to go, unfortunately, you've got to go back with the flight and expose yourself like that in our game.
Remarkable footy journey, Ash Johnson, Halls Creek products from WA, and then played with Claremont, and then to South Australia to play with Sturt, and just worked his way through the grades. Mid-season draftee like Collingwood for his opportunity after a finger injury ruined his campaign last year. Cameron inside 50 for the Pies, takes it out of the ruck, dispossessed, holding the ball. Hawthorn pressure's been much better here in this second half. D'Angelo wanted to take the free kick, but he's going to have to give it back to Lockie Wind. So Hawthorn with plenty of VFL talent out there at the moment. The reserve side for both of them out there at the moment after all the stars, including Jamie Elliott kicked 5 goals early in this game. Jack Ginnivan kicked 3, so too Mason Cox, so too Brody Myercheck. A couple of goals to Dylan Moore for the Hawks. With 18 goals while their A side was out there, and they looked really good earlier on, Steve.
They looked really sharp, just through the middle. Their ball use by foot particularly was really impressive. They just had a really good system up forward. They were working, the forwards were working for each other, creating space. They just looked really dangerous. Elliott looked super fit, just springing back in his legs, creating those half chances, and Brody Myercheck floating around, doing his thing as he usually does. He just always seems to get under the guard of opposition teams when they're putting time and effort into the others. Some of their key targets up forward look really good, and you know, you got the skipper Scott Pendlebury controlling things from the back. He might spend a little bit more time down there, we think, throughout this season, just because they've got such a plethora of options through the middle. Grundy looked good. Taylor Adams doing everything again, so still side bottom. They look really sharp.
Nick Lipinski made an impact in his first game for the Pies as well. Here's Callum Brown, toes the sideline, sends it up toward half forward. Again, the defence of Collingwood's okay. Hardwick, Phillips, run down, great tackle, terrific pressure from the Pies, and it's rewarded. And Will Kelly lays the tackle, makes it stick, and he'll have a shot.
Talking a bit about this young lad earlier, we wanted to see him out there. He just wraps the tackle up. Geez, you lick your lips, don't you, when you know someone's just there for the taking, and he took him down and did well not to get into his back. He rolled him over and earns his shot at goal.
Especially at his size as well, Will Kelly. And he's a tantalising prospect. Can he send it toward goal and keep it straight? No, the wind really getting a hold of them toward the Princes Freeway here in this second half. Pushing them hard left to right. Started out at probably a zephyr, then it went to a breeze, and it's now a full-on wind.
Full-on gale down at Morwell. Many big stands to protect the ground.
The Latrobe Valley doctor has rolled in this afternoon. Here's Begg for the Pies. Takes a nice mark. He's going to send it back inside the arc, and standing in the way in defence is James Blank. 10 VFL products out there for the Hawks. How? He really grew into his footy last year, produced a super consistent season.
He did. He just got better and better as the longer the season went. The Hawks, after the bye last year, found a little bit of form, and he was a key part of that, linking up through the wing off half-back, delivering the ball inside 50, and can hit the scoreboard as well. Dan Howe's got really neat skills, makes good decisions. Hawks will be hoping for another big season from him this year.
The Riverina in New South Wales. Jekka inside the forward 50. Saunders back to Jekka. Jams it on the boot toward goal. It skittles the lot, but it only sneaks through for a minor score. So behind number 14 of this second half for Collingwood. Make it 15. 10-24 plays 19-8. Collingwood went to the half in this six-quarter game at 18-3. It was pretty entertaining stuff. Now it's thinned out a little bit on that outer side now with the Box Hill and mainly Collingwood VFL players out there. They certainly got treated to some great football earlier on. What's the review process like of practice matches, Steve? Is it, especially with a game like this, where you're sort of mixing and matching sides?
Yeah, I think probably what they'll do is review the first three quarters really strongly, depending on what sort of access to quality vision you get. Sometimes, usually you get the broadcast vision, but when you're playing in a big stadium, you've got the behind the goals, which the coaches really love from a teaching point of view. So see the sizzle lifts at either end. Both coaches would probably be looking at that pretty closely. And obviously they would have gone into the game with working on certain things, how their midfield's working around stoppage, how they go inside 50, how they set up behind the ball. So they like looking at those sorts of things, particularly with the cameras behind the goal, just from a teaching and learning point of view more so than anything. And then the players will usually watch their edits, so every kick, mark, handball, tackle and all those sorts of things with your line coach probably first up, and then they get together as a group and review it before they start previewing their respective practice matches next week.
So the Pies with GWS, as we talked about earlier, and Hawthorn to play Richmond in Devonport, which is a game that's going to mean so much to that community, as Collingwood's got an opportunity here inside the forward 50.
Yeah, the Hawks would usually play their practice match down in Launceston, second home down there, but given the tragedy that happened just before Christmas last year in Devonport, both clubs in the AFL, so Hawthorn, Richmond and the AFL, are putting on a bit of a fundraiser, with all funds raised going to the Hillcrest Community Fund for that community, as the Pies stick through a goal.
Yeah, nice kick from Campbell Hustwaite, their VFL co-captain. Kicks one for the Pies. One of the VFL players making an impact here in this second half. And Collingwood get their 20th of this extended six-quarter game.
Yeah, so you'd imagine the Hawks will have their work cut out against the Tigers down in Devonport next week, but just such a great thing that footy can do for the community, to take their mind off it, raise a bit of money for that community. And I think some people from both sides and some Tassie sporting legends will stick around for an old school sportsman's night down in Devonport next Saturday night, which will be good fun.
Many tales to be told. It's just a great initiative. It's one of the ways that football can really bind together communities and reinvest and do some good. See that places like this, when you've got these events in regional areas such as Morwell today. Darcy Cameron's lost his shoe in the ruck contest.
Big boot out there. What, talking size 14, 15s, I reckon, Big Darcy.
Yeah, I think there was a windsock out on the outer side of the ground. I think that's what he puts underneath it. That'd be a very, very big hoof that Darcy Cameron's rolling with. Scrubby kick out of defence for the Hawks. Hustwaite has a go for the Pies, can't track it down. Gary Brown's still bustling around as they go sliding into the Hawks bench. With the temporary seating along the bench side. 5 minutes to go in this fifth period. Collingwood with a goal and Hawthorn with just the one goal as well. It's a show for their work here in this period of footy. 5 of 6 will get in the books. Cameron sends it forward. Can't be separated again. In fact, it's going to be a free kick going to the Hawks. Big fella James Blank to take it. Love a defender just wearing the black boots. The old standard, old reliable.
That's it. Probably it's dry, but you've probably got the screw-ins as well, just to make sure he doesn't slip over.
With that ball kick there and Draper takes it away for the Pies and flares it out in front of Henry. Assesses his options and has a look up the ground toward the Princes Freeway. Ends up just going long. A big fly in the pack. McInnes, as he pulled that in, it's been paid. A really nice mark. I think they see him long term as a midfield prospect, Reef McInnes, but he's a big boy, and that's a really nice pack mark.
Saw this earlier with Brody Myercheck sort of trying to convince the umpire that he'd taken it, wasn't off hands, and
Sell the mark and then have a bet each way by playing on.
he was paid it. It was a good grab. You'd prefer the umpires to pay those sort of marks anyway. And call play on, benefit of the doubt for the big forwards.
McInnes looks to curve it back and does it beautifully. That's a really nice finish for the youngster. And Collingwood with a couple of quick ones.
A lot of players have struggled with that kick down towards that end in this game. I've seen a lot of shots miss to the right, but got it, judged it beautifully. The wind on that occasion just got there in terms of the distance, but started it way out left and came back with the breeze. Knows what he's doing around goal, and it's just upside if he can jag a few for the Pies up forward, as well as spending some time through the midfield. Another silky, skillful player that they've found. He's looked good at times again today, like so many of them have in the black jumpers.
23rd pick, 194 centimetres he stands at, so plenty of size.
It's just about the standard size these days. You've got to be, like if you're a midfielder, if you want to be key position, you've got to be 200, and if you want to be ruck, you've got to be 210 plus, it seems.
Absolutely. Daniel Howe a little bit slow to rise out of the centre of the ground. He's back to his feet. Really the only injury concern in this game so far has been Quainer with the concussion for Collingwood, so he'll miss their practice match next week. Hawthorn have put a good passage of play together here, and they've set up a really good attacking chance. It's nice work from the Hawks. Been able to finish it off well through Parsons.
Nice finish from Parsons. Nice build-up, just free-flowing, had some space, had the time. We've seen so many occasions where they haven't cashed in and missed the shot, but kicked truly on that occasion. It was a really nice finish. Ex-Geelong player.
Pretty classy operator at the Cats as well, in limited opportunities, sort of in that revolving small forward door they had for a few years there before the likes of Brian Myers were able to lock down some of those spots.
Yeah, Luke Dalhouse the last couple of years as well. They brought him on board for that small crumbing pressure forward role. So important. Every team loves one or two of them in their forward line.
So Parsons another goal for Hawthorn late in the piece here in this fifth period of this practice match on KO Sports. John Peterson and Steve Gillam with you. Nicely kicked off at half-back for the Pies. Tom Wilson sends it out to Cooper Murley. The Tea Tree Gully Norwood product. A couple of injuries in his draft year last year that saw him maybe tumble a little bit down further the order than he might have been, but Collingwood pretty excited with what he might be able to provide. Look at the dash from Johnson, who's back into the game, trying to chip it inside the 50, and the ball battered down in defence for the Hawks. And there's a little bit on off the football too. Dan Howe looks like he's involved in that. A couple of Pies coming over to provide support. Reef McInnes is on the bottom of it all. Shields going at the opposite number 26. It'll be a free kick too, going to the Hawks. Max Lynch to take it. What have you made of Lynch's performance, Steve?
Yeah, look, he's playing against his old side. I think that ruck spot for Hawthorn is up for grabs to relieve McAvoy. So whether or not they go with Lynch and McAvoy playing more forward or being that swing man, depending on matchups, you can play forward and back McAvoy. So I think they're trying to work out who it'll be between Reeves and Lynch. So at the moment they've sort of swapped where Reeves played early against Grundy. Grundy probably had the chocolates in that contest, as you'd expect. You know, one of the superstars of the competition, he's Grundy against Ned Reeves, who I think they really like down at Hawthorn as well. We saw Reeves take that big clunk early in the game, go back, kick that goal. So maybe his ability to push forward Reeves compared to Lynch might have him in front at this stage. Just with his forward craft and being able to kick goals and go forward and hit the scoreboard. But Lynch gives you something different. I think he covers the ground. He's more of the athlete. And depending on if you're playing a really big ruckman and you need Reeves' size, he might be the way they go. But if you need an athlete who can cover the ground and more the work rate side of things, then you got another option in Lynch.
Options are always good to have, a bit of versatility in the side. 2 goals apiece there in that 5th period of this 6-quarter match at Morwell. Last quarter, the last period of play coming up after this. It's still Collingwood well and truly in charge. More footy to come here on KO Sports. All the way the game's unfolded. Kruger, we know he's got such a leg on him. He sends it to half forward. Cameron. That's a towering mark right on the 50. Thorne now back to Collingwood where it all started. Jalen Thorpe goes long. And that is a really nice mark from Jekka. Turned over to Howe. He shoots it inside the forward 50. Picked up on the half volley by Sarong. Brother of the Rising Star winner Caleb lays the tackle there. Should be rewarded and is. Bench in ruck. Callum Brown's been busy since making his arrival into the game. You see that the sky is darkening toward the town end, and that's a really good mark pulled in inside the forward 50.
On the Hawks list midway through last year.
So Callow starts it right, and he finally breaks the drought for Hawthorn. After 11 straight behinds, the Hawks are back on the board. Sends it up toward half forward. Again, the defence of Collingwood's okay. Hardwick to Phillips, run down, great tackle, terrific pressure from the Pies. It's Freeway. Ends up just going long. Big fly in the pack. McInnes, as he pulled that in, it's been paid.
Anyway, call play on, benefit of the doubt for the big forwards.
McInnes looks to curve it back and does it beautifully. That's a really nice finish for the youngster. Big 194 centimetres he stands at, so plenty of size.
It's just about the standard size these days. You've got to be like if you.
Really, the only injury concern in this game so far has been Quainer with the concussion for Collingwood, so he'll miss their practice match next week. Hawthorn have put a good passage of play together here, and they've set up a really good attacking chance. It's nice work from the Hawks. A bit down further the order than he might have been, but Collingwood pretty excited with what he might be able to provide. Look at the dash from Johnson, who's back into the game, tried to chip it inside the 50. And expectation.
He does. He's already got a little bit of pressure, but I think from what I hear, really enjoy that pressure and eat it up.
Here's Elliott for the Pies from the pocket. That's a great finish from Jamie Elliott.
Scrubby kick. So see in the background, the wind looks like it's really up. So,
just as I mentioned
that.
Yeah, it is a very strange sight, though. It is unusual, but whatever you need, Mason, that's what's going to make it work. Here's Dacos, Nick Dacos, a little handball through the traffic to Myercheck, finds Ginnivan, who rises and marks.
Of Hawthorn's defence.
So Ginnivan kicked 3 against the Pies last year when they met late in the season, and he's got one early here at Morwell, and Collingwood in front through 10 minutes of the ruck. Won it down. Flicks the handball from Lipinski. And then smashes it forward. The breeze certainly favouring that end of the ground at the freeway end. And Sicily's been, it's going to be a free kick going to James Sicily in the end for the Hawks. Drives a low kick outside the defensive 50. Mitchell read it so beautifully off the hands. Handball to me.
Pre-season drafts and then the mid-season obviously as well.
Oh, great pressure from Ginnivan. Has he won a free kick for the Pies there? He has in the forward pocket.
He's looking to give it up, but I don't think he's that keen, is he?
So Ginnivan on the left boot to the freeway end, has no trouble with that. And Collingwood have got 4 in the opening.
What is it? Their prime movers are up and moving.
We're just about set to go here in this final period. We've had player changes, 91 players named. Now we've got new umpires out there for this final period of play here at Morwell in this AFL practice match for season 2022 on KO Sports. Joel Peterson and Premiership Hawk Steve Gillam with you. I reckon we've got a few local umpires in here. Steve, in the green?
Yeah, they got the call up.
And
They obviously need the practice and the run around as well. So good to see them getting involved down there at Morwell this afternoon, tonight.
Maybe a bit of club personnel there as well with the pink vests on too, because it might be a bit like sort of junior cricket umpire yourselves type thing. Just get one of the parents to come out there and umpire.
There's been plenty of push and shove and a little bit of feeling in this game, so it'd be interesting if that continues in this last period, if how they handle that.
Absolutely. So long kick inside the 50 from James Blank for the Hawks, one of their VFL players.
Might
10
be
of them
Andy Otten out there, is it?
I reckon it might be the former Crow. Tumbling ball to the goal square for the Hawks. Collingwood are going to do enough. Magin diving across the kick of Hartley there. Good defence from Hawthorn. Saunders inside the 50. Handball given up. Wilson. Now McRae. Big designs on it, Collingwood. Oh, big fly there from Booth, back spot. In the Jordan DeGoey, number 2. Any chance you get to play in that, I guess you'll take it. Hardwick along the boundary line, tried the fend off. Did he step out while he was trying to handball? He did.
Yeah, just a bit of structured match play, I guess. That's what they're trying to get out. They're calling different setups and plays out there on the fly, it looks like.
See if we can get a close-up of the umpires at some stage and identify whether that's Andy Otten and maybe a Collingwood support staff member as well out there, which is, I reckon it might be. A bit like the old righto, you got knocked over for 3 off 7 balls at the top of the order, go and stand at square leg after the 30th over.
When it's about 40 degrees as well.
Yes, pretty much. Wilson across half-back for the Pies. They kicked 18 goals in the opening 3 periods of this game with their best side out there, and that's a nice mark by McInnes. He's shown some signs.
He has. Yeah, he knows what he's doing for sure. Whether it's above his head, took a nice pack mark and went back and slotted the goal earlier, or just got poise and knows where he is in space, makes good decisions, doesn't get rushed, got good composure. Showed some really good signs today.
Great kick coming to Cameron here. Cameron to Wilson, who sends the Pies long inside the 50 with the left boot. That's a good defensive mark to Blank. We go across the defensive goal face, and the Hawks will try and manufacture something going back the other way here at Morwell in the heart of the Latrobe Valley. Of course, the home ground of the Gippsland Power in the under-18 competition. The mighty Morwell Tigers as well in the Gippsland League. The stronger clubs over a long period of time. A couple of AFL products from this part of the world. Kick inside the forward 50 has been marked by Callow, who showed us he could kick one at the other end into a tricky wind. What can he do with it at his back here?
Hope he was watching during that 5th period. You've got to start it out to the left. It'll work back left to right. Probably in a good spot to have a ping from there. Definitely get the journey. A couple of nice bits of play from a Hawthorn perspective there. James Blank getting an opportunity, intercept, and then Ned Long out on the outer side set up this scoring shot for Callow.
So Callow comes in. That's a lovely kick as well. So he's showing them how to do it here in this second half of this 6th period game. Hawthorn have been peppering away and have kicked 16 behinds. Callow's got a couple of goals to his name.
Definitely
Andy Otten, isn't it? Yeah, so he's got the Gippsland Power training top on, actually, as well as the former Crow, now part of the Hawthorn coaching setup. It's real umpire yourself at square leg type operation. You just hope, no bias creeps in or anything.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Andy's a fair operator, though.
Balanced for both sides, hopefully.
So the ball up from the... We won't call him the Collingwood. Is that? I reckon that might be Scott Selwood. That's the Collingwood umpire out there in the middle as well.
So yeah, both development coaches.
Yep.
for the respective sides. Both hold the same position, helping these younger developing players for both sides across AFL and VFL lists.
Both went into coaching straight away after footy too. Andy Otten, of course, retired from the Crows in 2019 and straight to the Hawks, and Selwood much the same after finishing up with the Cats. Fergus Green at full forward, can't quite make the best of the opportunity, tries to paddle it out and got tackled rather quickly.
Give it a bounce, Andy.
So Andy Otten goes for the ball up. Lynch is there for the Hawks. Cameron over the top of him. Did he give away a free kick for some high contact? No, Andy Otten's put the whistle away. He's going to toss it up again.
Looks like a natural out there, making sure no one's going to run into him as he backs out.
Absolutely, and speaking of natural, that's a nice goal from Lynch, who picked it up at the stoppage and just jammed it on the boot, was able to sneak it through.
Yeah, nice piece of ruck work. Just got his opponent out the way, gave himself some room. Picked it up, snapped it round. Been able to find the goals lately. Hawks, after having maybe 11 behinds in a row, they kicked it at one stage during this game. So being able to put a bit of more of a score on the board. Collingwood still leading this game, 21-8, 134 to 13-25, 103 the Hawks, but definitely created enough chances.
Absolutely.
Haven't been able to stick him through the big sticks with this tricky breeze out there today.
Scott Selwood has absolutely commandeered the ball ups too. That's 3 in a row. He's the centre clearance specialist in there among the umpiring fraternity in this last quarter. Pies try and nurse it off half back. Nervous moments for Shields there, who lays a strong tackle. And Andy Otten says, "Give it to me, thanks, gents."
That's about 15 years of experience. I'm not putting my body on the line.
Not in a practice match. Maybe in round 19 if we're, 7th and need a win to get into the finals. But
correct.
Not in a practice match, thank you. It's Kelly's the target of the kick. Can't quite drag it in. Leslie Smith on the bench, so to Nurley and Poulter, a couple of the young Pies players. And boundary umpire getting an opportunity to sling the footy back in. On at the stoppage for the Hawks to Phillips, whips it around the body on that left boot. Lovely kick. Nice linking up of play here for Hawthorn. Strook kicks inside the 50 and the mark plucked by Fergus Green.
Knows what he's doing inside 50. Fergus had a great year last year with the Hawks.
30 goals in the VFL last year for Fergus Green. Out of the Sandhurst Dragons. Based at the Queen Elizabeth Oval right in the heart of Bendigo. Starts it left, swings it back. Beautiful. He's pretty happy with his work, is Ferg.
Loved it. Really well liked. Really well liked across the Hawthorn and Box Hill lists.
Just rates himself as a bit of a comedian too, does Fergus Green. He's a pretty funny young fella.
Yeah, he gets a bit of airtime on the Box Hill Hawks social media channels. A bit of a go-to, Ferg. Happy to oblige.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Dad was a champion footballer in the Bendigo Footy League. Chris, the uncompromising defender. His brother played some VFL with the Bendigo Gold as a running halfback, and Ferg playing up the other end of the ground as a forward in his junior career and into his AFL career. Andy Otten's taken the ball up duties away from Scott Selwood, back in the middle of the ground. Parsons throws himself at it there for the Hawks. Long's able to take it away. Handball out wide to Phillips. Phillips up toward half forward. Here is Green again. Handball back to Hardwick. Sends it inside the 50. And the mark taken by Magin.
Could they, Joel?
Oh, what are they going to need? Another 5? 20 minutes of play left.
Wind at their back.
Could happen. Oh, that's a great mark from Poulter. Has he just dragged that in? What's the boundary umpire going to give him here? Doesn't look keen to make a decision, so it sticks. Well done from Caleb Poulter. That deserved that he reached over his head and pulled in the grab. As we see on the replay, yeah, he's well inside the field of play there. That's good boundary umpiring. Long for the Hawks. Tumbles it to half forward. Off hands. Saunders, a little bit of basketball skill to try and dribble it in front of himself. Hack back the other way out of defence for the Pies. High ball toward Begg. Big fist in the pack, out toward the boundary line. Long's been good, shown some real signs. Centres it up nicely.
Yeah, he's been excellent. The longer the game's got, he's dictating everything through the middle for the Hawks. He's getting everything going.
Order to Hardwick. May not feature every week at AFL level, but if you're a Box Hill fan, you'd be looking at Ned Long thinking he's going to be a handy inclusion for us. Another flying shot on goal here for the Hawks. That's a really good kick. And this one has been kicked for Hawthorn by Callum Porter, another of their Box Hill VFL products. Usually plies his trade down back and he sneaks forward for a major.
Well, yeah, I think he's snuck down. Just read the play beautifully. Got involved on the end of it. Here he goes. Another one of the Box Hill listed players getting an opportunity today and making the most of it. And he really enjoyed that. So did all the boys. They look like they're having great fun out there now.
This is on, I reckon.
It's on. We've got a game.
19 points, 19 minutes to go. Consider that earlier in the game, Collingwood led by 73 points at one stage in that third period of play. And they absolutely were dominating.
Yes, just checking some commentary by some Hawthorn people saying that it's a little bit of a trait of Sam Mitchell coach sides that they usually give up a bit of a lead but then come home strong like a train, and a lot of Box Hill boys out there, they're sniffing an opportunity out here now.
I reckon they actually led by 79, in fact, Collingwood, so the margin got as many as 79. It's 19 at the moment. Green handball inside the 50. Goes looking for a teammate on the end of it. Butler dives in. They can't quite rip it away.
Oh, very harsh, the umpire there.
He's played a free kick. So the brother of Dan Butler is Sam.
Yeah.
Out of the Greater Western Victoria Rebels and the Lake Wendouree Footy Club in Ballarat.
Got the number 30 on out there. Really explosive player. Really good goal sense, like his brother. Another one that the Hawks are excited about developing and coming through on their list.
A couple of steps one way and the other at half-back. Holter's got it for the Pies. Got it from teammate in Isaac Chugg. Holter kicks down the line. Cameron up high. Taken off hands by Wilson. Sweeps the handball forward. McInnes might have spent it before he had it. He goes back in and lays the tackle. Not quite in time though. Phillips across half-back here for Hawthorn. That's Ed Phillips. Now working defensively in Tom Phillips. We know what a running machine he is, and Collingwood fans would know that only too well as well. Centering ball taken away for the Pies and chipped inside the forward 50. And now an opportunity for McRae. He's going to dish it off into the pocket and finds a target in McInnes.
Been good, McInnes. Tom Phillips wouldn't be real happy with that kick coming out. Defensive 50, just turned it over. And once you turn it over there, usually it's going straight back over your head for a score. That's what's happened on this occasion. A lot of AFL clubs pride themselves on their forward half turnovers. It's a really big modern footy stat about how you're going, and usually ends up in a goal. That's why it's so important, and the young fella puts it straight through the middle to just give them a little bit more breathing space. Late stages in this game, about halfway through this last term.
Capitalised on that nicely, did McInnes. So margin back out to 25 points. 6-period game. Might have just put an end to our comeback hopes, I think, Steve.
Yeah, it's just sucked the air out of the Hawks, maybe. Just a little bit too little too late, but it has been a fantastic game. We've seen a lot of players out there getting some great experience. Their start to the 2022 campaign.
How do you balance up a side for a game like this? So at the moment we see Phillips and Shields on the ball, and I mean, not necessarily in an improving side walk-up starts, but just, you don't want to, I guess, throw the kids to the wolves completely. You need some experience around them.
Yeah, so it's a balance, I think. I think they're out there probably more from a leadership point of view and making sure that they're directing the younger squad out there just to provide a little bit of direction for them, a bit of encouragement, and to give them some structure and some leadership around the ball. For both sides, there's some more experienced players than others, but mainly this second half of this game has been dominated by the younger brigades of both squads.
Nice pressure from the Pies to force a pretty frenetic passage of play from the Hawks, and Parsons tumbles it toward goal. A couple of kids go racing after that footy behind the goals. Having a little bit of a jostle. Is the youngster going to give it back here or not? Oh, he's trying to get away with it. Might have a sibling chasing after him. Goal umpire's just standing there waiting for it. He's run into the pocket. Oh, he's been tackled. Caught holding the ball, free kick. And it'll be brought back in by Egmalesi Smith. An opportunistic youngster doesn't quite get what he wanted. The former Tiger. Indigo Pioneer out of the Sunraysia region in Victoria's far northwest, drives it back inside the field of play. Big fly over the back for Collingwood from Ash Johnson. Couldn't reel it in.
Yeah, you've still got Lynch and Hardwick out there for the Hawks, so maybe it's also about just getting game time into some of these guys. They might have had bigger, or their pre-seasons might have been different to the majority of the squad that were playing in the first 3 quarters of this game. So it's very technical these days, very scientific. Everything's tracked and measured. They wear the GPS in their jumpers, tracks how far they go, how fast they go, and so that's on during training as well. So the data boffins will be looking at their computers and pulling the strings behind the scenes just to make sure that everyone's getting enough.
Andy Elton's picked out a free kick here, and he's going the way of Hawthorn. No, Collingwood, sorry. Jeez, it's going to be controversial on the car ride home. It's a Hartley. You know, Aiden Begg just coming off the ground a moment ago with what looked to be a pretty sure left shoulder, potentially, and just getting some assessment on the bench there for the Pies in the background. Low kick inside the forward 50 for the Pies. Knocked away. Saunders. Handball just went over his head. Wilson's there for Collingwood to mop it up. Going to get another go here. Paddles it inside the forward 50. Saunders gets back there for the Hawks to send it back the other way. Brown for the Pies. Green is the better of the two on that occasion. And now they go streaming inside the 50 here to the Hawks. Jecker couldn't take the mark, brought it down in front of himself, wheels around onto the left, spears it toward goal. It'll miss to the right-hand side, and our youngster out the back there might get another chance to pinch the footy.
No, the younger kid won the day on that occasion, but he shows some good signs, Jecker. He got some tricks, gets around, very agile, bit of a handful, so...
If you've got him in that forward line alongside the likes of Kajitsky and Gunston, and just as a really mobile half forward, just to provide a little bit of X factor, it's a pretty imposing. I mean, one thing Hawthorn don't lack for is tall marking targets anywhere on the ground. Really.
Lewis as well.
Yep. Sicily and Scrimshaw at the other end, McAvoy around the ground, and Reeves.
Those resting rucks as well. So both sides, to be honest, those bigger guys in the forward line have looked dangerous at different times today.
Absolutely. So it's going to be a free kick here to Louis D'Angelo. And the age of the mullet going on has gone for the more Vincatoggio version of that. Slightly Leo Sayer-esque take. Loads up on the right boot here. It's a good-looking kick, just hasn't got the carry. Chased into the pocket by Imagine and over the line.
Ferg appealing for deliberate.
It's optimistic at best there from Ferg's screen.
Just pleading with Otten.
Spoiled it down, yeah. Hey, coach, what do you reckon?
Any danger?
Juck back in. Here's Saunders again, who's been busy in the last few moments, continuing to run in this final term. Hartley, handball through the traffic. Callum Brown got caught holding the ball, surely. They don't want to pay it to Tom Phillips. He'll be really dirty with Andy Otten. Spiralling kick into the centre of the ground. Come back the other way. Hartley has a go for the Pies. Good fierce bump there. Butler was in there applying some physical pressure for the Hawks. Ground level footy locked up by a number, including Shields, who's on the bottom of it all, as he so often has been over his 200-plus games. Lynch in ruck for the Hawks. 10 minutes remaining in this 6-period practice game at Morwell on KO Sports. Joel Peterson and Steve Gillam with you. Here's Long, who's shown some real promise. Puts it on the left, trying to curl it back toward goal. High kick up and down the mine shaft to full forward.
It's a great mark.
It's a terrific defensive mark for the Pies by Kellen Wellings.
Sarong came off second best in that contest. He's all right. It looks like he's up, but it's a fantastic mark late in this game, going back with the flight.
Another one of their VFL prospects.
This young bloke's look good today too.
Absolutely. He's had some experience at the top level as Caleb Poulter, 11 games last season. Hard to miss with that flowing hair. Gee, Johnson gets another really good run and jump at the footy. Plays a lot taller than he is. He's got some real athletic ability, and he gets a look at it. Free kick paid by maybe umpire Scott Selwood on that occasion. McInnes kicks to half forward. The Pies can move it here. Kelly rolls around onto the right boot. There's the kick across the 50. It's an interesting option in the end. Coming out to meet it is Thorpe. Paddles it inside the centre square. And the Hawks have got runners out here everywhere. And they'll move it forward with pace. A bounce for Parsons, who enters the 50, draws the opponent, uses his craft to kick the goal. He knows how to make the defenders a little bit nervous when he's got the ball in hand. The margin back to 17 points.
Just run and gun style footy off half back, just bash and crash it forward, and Hawks forwards were out everywhere. Collingwood had really pushed up, and then Matchin's caught in no man's land between the goal square being the goalkeeper, but then not rushing at Parsons, and he played it beautifully. Parsons, very experienced in that situation, summed it up beautifully and snapped it through.
So I guess some broad takeaways from the game, Stephen Gillam. Collingwood, the way they moved the ball in that opening half of the match was outstanding.
It was really, really impressive. We're playing 30-minute quarters, and the A-grade side, if you like, playing up against the Hawthorn probables. There's just lots to like. They were scoring very quickly. Elliott started it, lit the fuse. Those prime movers in the middle, the Dacos brothers were getting involved. It was, one of the highlights of the match for mine was when Josh gave it to Nick and he sealed it as the Hawks kick another one. That's a Ducci. Tom Phillips, sorry, on the left. Making a late charge with the wind.
So within two, still could happen.
Absolutely, coming home like a train. The Hawks.
They kicked 6 in this final period of play here to the Pies 1.
It was, Joel, it was so long ago that first 3 quarters. I'm struggling to remember what happened. But
so Jamie Elliott kicked 3 goals in that opening term for the Pies. Jack Ginnivan kicked a couple as well for Collingwood. They kicked 7 in total. They kicked 6 in the second term. And Hawthorn got the first goal of both quarters, remarkably. So in the first minute in each of those quarters, they kicked the first goal. Collingwood kicked the next 7 in the first quarter and the next 6 in the second term.
Yeah, and that's sort of a little bit the worry for the Hawks, that they just couldn't stem the flow after the first 2 or 3. Usually in AFL footy, after your opposition kick 2 or 3, you usually send someone behind the footy, or you just lock it down in the middle and try and play a bit more composed. But I guess Sam would have gone into the game with a certain style of how we wanted to play, and it wasn't necessarily about the score today. Hey!
Johnson with a massive rise again.
Just spilt it, but that would have been... He's threatened to do that 2 or 3 times today. He'll grab one. He'll win Mark of the Year.
At some level of football, whether it's AFL
You'll
or
see
VFL.
it on AFL Footy Legends,
Yep.
for sure.
Absolutely.
Here we go again. The almost...
Just the spring. Oh.
That is a proper hang.
one way as well. I reckon this is Booth in the number 2. Only Collingwood player that we haven't seen out there. Kicked a goal a couple of weeks ago in their intra-club early on in the piece. That's an absolute cop to the full forward, and it's worked out beautifully. Just like he drew it up. And Murley's on the end of it for the Pies.
Luck's a fortune, but in front, first to react are usually the forwards. Murley with an opportunity just to put one through late on in this game.
49th pick in the draft last year. South Australian product on the right boot, hits the post. And that one wouldn't have counted in our revamped rules because it went through. So does it go through?
That's
for
a goal?
That goes through for a goal.
Yeah,
Yep.
so if it goes through, even if it hits the post,
Right.
that's a goal.
Soccer style.
Yeah,
Yep.
but if it hits the upright and comes back in, then play on.
So the first
Barrel.
Oh, the tube.
It's gone to the middle.
That's a nice kick from Hardwick. He's really launched into that with the breeze, and Andy Otten's plucked out a free kick the other way straight away.
I don't think he's paid one free kick to Hawthorn. He's sort of like going too far the other way now.
Yep. The gig's up, Andy. We know what's going on. All out wide. Gee, that was uncompromising stuff there from Isaac Chug and Lockie Wind, who ran into one another.
Very competitive for 3 minutes to go.
Absolutely. See the barrel again from Hardwick.
We need to see more of this.
That's a good tube.
If you've got it in your kit bag, get it out.
Absolutely.
Especially with a 5 or 6 goal breeze from left to right to your right hand screen here. But
So the Pies working inside the 50 again. Here is Johnson. He's created some magic a couple of times and not quite made it work so far. He runs around, he goes the fend, he feeds it back, and it's not quite there for the Pies. It'll go out of play for a throw-in. So the first half for Hawthorn, even in that second period of play, 2 goals 5 they ended up with. So plenty of opportunities, but just not able to capitalise on them.
yeah, and that's a silver lining, I think. They were creating as much opportunity going the other way. They just weren't able to nail those opportunities. And the ones they were getting, they were just having to work really hard. And Collingwood seemed to be rewarded because they were getting into better spots. And the Collingwood players delivering the ball inside 50 just had a lot better options going forward than what Hawthorn did. And, I mean, that is the challenge for Hawthorn, is to be able to work together. That young forward line that's coming through now with Dylan Moore and Jacob Kazitsky and Mitch Lewis, and Luke Bruce wasn't out there today. He'll be back. But it was great to see Jack Gunston out there. He'll help stiffen them up and help those guys, because in the opposition they'll be putting their number 1 defender on Jack Gunston and your Luke Bruce, and that'll hopefully, for Cozzy and Mitch Lewis, free them up a little bit.
I'll give you a little while to think about it. From either side today, though, I think maybe a young player that caught your eye, and then a player who maybe we know but we saw the best of this afternoon is Johnson, who we've really liked his contribution. Kicks inside the 50. Kelly couldn't mark. Beggs back out there, which is good to see for the Pies, but his kick cut off by Ed Phillips. Of course, Jamie Elliott with the 5 goals. Taylor Adams was busy in the middle. And, I mean, everyone expected a lot of Nick Dacos, didn't they? And I think he delivered on the promise in his first outing. So much to like about that Collingwood first half. As here's Fergus Green, who can't take the mark, but he'll run into an open goal. He almost dropped it off the end of his boot there, and he's going to sprint back to the middle and get things moving to try and draw this up, Fergus Green. He whacks it into the centre and says, let's go, boys. 6 points in it. And I don't think he's getting a lot of love from anyone around the ground.
They're not catching on, Ferg.
It's almost like when you score the goal, the late goal to make it 2-1 in a game of the round ball code, and then you take the ball out of the net and sprint back to the middle.
I love this, though.
Bit of enthusiasm.
Yeah, he's having a bit of fun out there. He's loving it.
So a minute left. Can the Hawks get a late equaliser here after trailing by 79 points in the opening half? Phillips goes inside the 50. Fergus Green, he wanted to keep things going. He tumbles it toward goal and ties it up. Unbelievable scenes at Morwell.
Now they're up and about. Shields running back to the middle.
They're keen to move
Butler.
things on quickly now. Fergus
They're a
Green
sniff.
sprinted back to the centre, kicks his third, and after Hawthorn trailed by 79 points in the first half, it's all square at 141.
Bit of bragging rights, even though it's a practice game.
They need the quickest goal of all time, or the quickest score of all time out of the centre here, both sides. Cameron in ruck. Wins it down. The Hawks will surge it forward, but not in time. So a rather entertaining end to the sixth period practice match at Morwell, in which Collingwood's A side dominated the opening 3 periods. Kicked 18 goals in the first 3 periods of the game, did the main group of Pies, and then the Hawks rattled home late, and Fergus Green with a late equaliser to tie it at 141 apiece to wrap things up here at Morwell in this practice match for season 2022. It was an entertaining finish to what was certainly, especially if you're a Pies fan, an entertaining game. Joel Peterson and Steve Gillam with you. So who caught your eye from a Collingwood perspective first of all, Steve?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Jamie Elliott. He lit the fuse early. He just looks primed for a big season, and I hope that, you know, for footy's sake, but Pies supporters will just be hoping that he's out there more often than not for the Pies. They had a lot of good forwards. They've kicked 22 goals. They spread it around a little bit, but for mine, he looked like he was really primed out there today for that first 3 quarters. He really impressed me. In terms of someone we're only sort of seeing a little bit of so far, was Henry for the Pies. I just liked the way he moved. There was a couple of things he did that you can just tell that he'll be fine at the level, and if he continues on that trajectory, he'll be a really exciting player. Obviously, his brother Jack at Geelong is emerging into a bit of a star for them. So if he can be anything like that for the Pies, they've found one there. On the other side of the things, I thought James Worpel really impressed me for the Hawks, especially in that second quarter. He was involved, he was kicking goals, he was doing the hard things, he was, you know, setting the tone basically on and off the footy when the Hawks didn't have it, but when they had it, he got forward, hit the scoreboard and worked really hard. So I know he's setting himself for a massive year after winning the BNF a couple of years ago, to really hit back strongly. And the emerging player from a brown and gold point of view, I thought, was John Newcomb. So he was exposed at AFL level a handful of times last year, and was known for his debut of having the most tackles on debut of any player and doing that hard stuff. But I think he'll be able to retain that. But I think what he's hopefully going to add to his game this season is his outside run and carry. So he can win the ball in tight in the contested situation, but I think he's actually got enough leg speed, and having another pre-season under his belt, dropping a little bit of weight, will be able to break the lines and hit the scoreboard hopefully for the Hawks.
There's a lot to like out of both sides. Successful return for Sicily and Gunston for the Hawks as well. Dacos gets through. They blood Kruger, the Pies. Lipinski was excellent in the opening half, and they saw enough from some of their kids too to be pretty encouraged by what you've seen. If you're a Pies fan, so 5 goals to Jamie Elliott, 3 goals to Ginnivan, to Myercheck, to Cox, a couple to Nathan Kruger, who was impressive, a really good goal to Nick Dacos, and one to Lipinski among the main players for Collingwood. Kajitsky ended up with one for the Hawks. Dylan Moore with a couple, and he was really lively inside the forward 50. Liam Shields, Jackson Callow, Seamus Mitchell among the goal kickers. Ned Long was in there too, so too Worpel and Lewis, and then some of the VFL players getting involved late to hit the scoreboard for the Hawks and drag it back. So the Hawks have Richmond next week as part of the Community Series, which will be a great event down there in Devonport, and Collingwood to face GWS, and they'll do so with Isaac Quainer, which was really probably the big injury talking point out of the match with his concussion. But apart from that, thankfully, no other big casualties.
Yeah, it looks like it. Connor Nash with a bandage on his knee, we can see walking off there, but he looks pretty happy. Both camps look pretty happy. they'll journey back down the highway, rest up this weekend and get ready for their respective community series games next week.
Good fun, Steve. Thanks for
Loved
your
it.
company. Thanks for everyone at home tuning in via KO Sports. It was a really entertaining first half if you were a Collingwood fan. 18 goals. They got out to a 79-point lead, and the Hawks dragged it back late. The persistence paid off of the young Hawks side. They tied it up at 141 to finish at Morwell. Plenty more action coming your way across the course of the weekend on KO Sports as the AFL practice matches continue, as we continue to prep for season 2022. But for now, that's all from Morwell here on KO Sports.